Hello, I'm Corbin. You may not ask for my last name. I will not give it to you. Don't look at the chat where my last name will appear. It's true. It's a mystery. Hi, Diablo and Curvy Mermaid. And speaking of Diablo, which is a video game, there's a handheld console. Boom. Seamless transition. Uh-oh. It's my show now.
Okay, am I? All right, looks like I'm good again.
Okay.
All right, I accidentally unplugged a cable earlier. Damn it. But yeah, OBS got confused. So.
Sweet.
All right, so that whole intro.
Yes.
Super lost. Awesome.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just talk about this Asus thing that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'll put this. You already have the press release, but there it is in the chat. So this was kind of already announced, but Asus is about to release a handheld gaming PC. They're calling the ROG Ally, and it seems to be the first premium sort of Steam Deck thing, because this sort of device has existed for years. Like, the Steam Deck was not the first one. There's the GPD Win, I think is their console, or the GPD Pocket. I'm not sure which one is the gaming thing, but GPD has been making them for a while. There's other companies that have tried this. Valve made the Steam Deck, which is pretty popular, but it's not like super high-end hardware. This is using AMD's Ryzen Z1 processor, which was just announced, and it was made specifically by Asus for devices like this. And you know what I should have pulled up is the Asus they did another press release for their the Ryzen Z1 stuff, and they had some graphs comparing it to the Steam Deck, which was kind of funny. Let's see, is this it?
I'm assuming comparing it very favorably.
Yeah. Where did I oh, I think this is it. I was trying to find. Okay. Nope, that does not have the chart I was thinking of, but anyway, so yeah, so new chip, and Asus's device has a 120 hertz 1080p screen. I believe the Steam Deck is only 60 hertz, and it also runs Windows, which is interesting. The Steam Deck ships with Valve's own Linux distro. It can run Windows because it is a PC, but the drivers apparently aren't that good. And also, Windows is just not built for this form factor whatsoever. So you have a bunch of weird issues with like apps scaling weird, or the other UI elements being covered and that kind of thing. It seems like Asus is trying to sort of work around that with a special version of their Armory Crate UI, which I believe they've been using on their Android gaming phones, or maybe that's their. I think that might also be what they call their software for configuring PC stuff, like when you buy their keyboards and mice and stuff. But they've got like kind of a custom launcher thing on top. Remains to be seen how good of an experience that will be. Still, Windows is still really not built for this. And like even some like stuff is still pretty rough on the Steam Deck, where PC games are kind of expecting you to have a keyboard and mouse, and there's workarounds for it, but Asus doesn't get some of those by running Windows. And they've got dual front-facing speakers, which is cool. It's got a micro SD card slot, which is not that helpful for games, really. The games are going to be really slow if you try to run them, unless you're just using that for emulators. The GBA emulator doesn't care if you have NVMe storage or not.
Well, I see this as kind of a hackish solution for if you want to just be able to move things around.
Yeah.
It sort of more like a disk drive as opposed to or sort of a replacement for a floppy drive, because obviously you don't want to put any large stuff into a portable gaming device. So I get some logic there.
Yeah, you could like, if you have Steam, you could set that as a Steam library folder and just move games to it when you don't want to play them.
Yeah. But you definitely wouldn't want to run anything actually off of a card. Yeah. Not unless it's pretty tiny.
So, again, looking pretty interesting. There's probably going to be more of these, considering AMD is making processors for devices like this, and it'd be kind of weird if they did that and Asus was the only buyer. So there's probably going to be more stuff like this soon. We don't have pricing yet still. This is supposed to be, I think they said it's going to be like fully released on May 11th, I think.
That's definitely the announcement.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I didn't see anything specific about a release date, like a official you can buy it or order it, pre-order it.
May 11th is the third announcement, I guess. Third announcement of the I don't know. But
well, I mean, we have all the specs at this point. So
yeah, we're missing the price, which I believe The Verge or PC Gamer got the closest thing to an answer out of them, which is that will be under $1,000, which probably means it's going to be $999 starting price. I'm going to assume that's what that means.
I would count on it, yeah.
And also don't know anything about battery life yet, which is probably going to be the other not great thing here, because this is still a x86 architecture chip that needs to be actively cooled and uses a lot of power. And it's the Steam Deck already doesn't have that great battery life. And this is more powerful than that. So
yeah,
I would expect the battery life is worse. But I don't know. We haven't seen anything from AMD from this chip yet. I think honestly the battery life is going to come down to Windows more than it's going to come down to some things like obviously x86 by itself is not that power efficient. Valve has, because they're in full control of the entire operating system, they've made a lot of tweaks to that. And Asus again is like trying to shove Windows into this, which still doesn't have good battery life on really anything. Like it's not great on laptops. It's not great on tablets. Like there's a reason Windows tablet didn't really go anywhere. So maybe, I don't know. It depends on what their software stack is like, and also I don't know how a lot of the popular game launchers and stuff handle like idle battery life, because the reason they're going with Windows is because you can put Steam and every PC game on there, and you've got EA's launcher, you've got the Epic launcher, whatever, all those running in the background all the time. If you don't like make sure to close them, that might add up to not great battery life, but we'll see.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that this is going to probably have pretty mediocre battery life, if not terrible battery life. But I don't think that's going to matter enough to a lot of the people who would be using it, because one of two things will end up happening. Either a lot of people will end up just kind of accepting that the battery life sucks, and they will play it basically plugged into a wall a lot of the time. Just they'll be able to go anywhere in their house, and just, as long as they're within reach of an outlet, they're fine.
Right.
Or they'll sell like a battery, not a battery mod, but some sort of external battery that you can just take with you, and that'll just inherently be the solution a lot of people use. So one way or the other, I think it'll be okay. It's something you'll probably have to work around, but big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. And we'll talk about the Edge thing, I guess, next. Is that what we said?
Yeah.
Okay. Other fun news. Microsoft Edge has a not really fun bug right now. So someone on Reddit discovered that Microsoft Edge was sending every page they visited to a random Bing API endpoint. And they did some further digging, and I'll just quote them from their Reddit post. Basically, they said that this appears to be a bug with a feature in Microsoft Edge where you're supposed to be able to like follow people on from their social platforms. So how this was supposed to work is you'd like go to someone's YouTube profile, and there would be like a follow button like in the browser, and then I guess it would show you stuff from them in the browser without you necessarily needing to like log in with a Google account or something and manage subscriptions that way. Again, like with so much of Edge stuff, I don't really know why you would want that necessarily. Unless it was like,
so is this sort of like one of
the
those
Verge article has
on
this
hover preview kind of things?
No, the Verge has a screenshot of it in their thing,
right?
Where, yeah, like there's just a follow button embedded in the browser, but I don't know where those show up later. Maybe on the new tab page. But yeah, I don't really know why this exists, unless it would be part of a larger like thing that Chrome on mobile has, where it has like a basic RSS reader built in. But this is different from that. So yeah, and basically how that worked is that it would check if you went to a certain domain that supported this feature, like YouTube, it would like send the pages on YouTube you were viewing to Bing for processing for some reason. But there is a bug where it was just sending everything to this API. And so it's like, it's not like, oh my god, this is terrible, because it's ultimately like Microsoft sending data to other Microsoft. But it's not really, this is I believe enabled by default, and it's not really clear how you would delete data sent through this. You probably can't.
I expect not.
Yeah, and if you were like one of the people who like explicitly was like, I don't want any of my browser data synced to the cloud, which is fine, but it would still be doing this,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe is how the person on Reddit found it. They were like looking at the network traffic, but um, Microsoft said they're looking into it, and you can turn off the feature right now that is like buggy in this way, but I don't know. It's interesting because Edge just has so much garbage in it that it sort of feels inevitable that there's going to be bugs like this, where like Microsoft. I wish I could find it because I think about it a lot. Where someone at Microsoft said that like because people spend all their time in a web browser, like the way you push products is not necessarily through Windows, it's through Edge. So like they're using Edge as a platform for Bing AI stuff. They're using it for, they've got the whole sidebar with like a lot of MSN Bing shit in it that no one cares about. Some like other stuff with like OneDrive and Microsoft Office stuff in there. Of course, they've got like the buy now pay later garbage in there. They're testing that crypto stuff that leaked a while back. Because like this is how they get people to use things, is by injecting into the browser and not having them, not trying to get them to like open an app somewhere else.
That's certainly true. I would also add there is a logical incentive here, as you can get Edge for, let's say, Mac OS. Actually, that's the only one that's really relevant in this conversation. But yeah, even outside of Windows users, which are not a universal group, they still want to try to get as many people as possible on something. So yeah, pushing things through Edge is the obvious choice. And even Windows users who don't use Edge still have to have it installed. So it's one way or another kind of being forced to everybody.
Yeah.
Or as much as they can.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see Edge just get worse and worse over time. Like I don't like clearly like they can do this to an extent because Edge is the default browser on Windows, so they're banking on people using these features when they use Edge because they're too lazy to install something else. But like there was a point in time a couple years ago, like right when they introduced the Chromium Edge, where they're like, guys, we have a new clean Edge. It's super fast. It's on literally every platform. Like, go try it out. And now they've just completely 180, and it's interesting.
So I doubt I'm the only person who sees the parallel here, but can we just acknowledge that this is exactly like Apple with iTunes 10 years ago, or 15, 20, however long ago it was that Apple used to try to shove iTunes to everybody, and along with it came a bunch of their crap software.
Yeah, when they put a whole social network in iTunes.
And Safari for Windows.
There will be a peeing episode of Tech Tales eventually for that stupid social network thing.
That one is going to be hard to do. First off, it's going to be one episode because the history was so short. Second, you're going to have to... I mean, are you going to try to find someone who ever actually used it?
Yeah. It's like, we've got to do some archaeology for that one.
I mean, I think it would be easier to find like the rarest metals on Earth using just a divining rod. Ping users were like Apple employees plus, I don't know, like 12 or 15 people who wrote about Apple.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting to watch them do this. And this is what finally got my my boss to uninstall Edge, because he he'd mentioned that he's been on the edge, for a while because it has been getting progressively worse. And then he saw this, he was like, "All right, it's probably time I need to go back to Firefox now. Like this is it." So,
oh geez.
yeah,
Not that
not,
I feel
not
like anyone
great.
should have seen that coming though.
No, I mean like he was definitely already saying like, yeah, I need to use something else. But this was like, okay, I need to go now.
Yeah, the ship has sailed. It's clear. There's no coming back.
Yeah, yeah, and I do use Edge like occasionally for like either if I just need like another Chrome thing to like log in for something, or I do have some of my extensions on the Edge store now, so I was testing it in there, and like I don't, it's not. It's weird on Mac because they're not using like anything that looks remotely native, like even
So
like
it's exactly like iTunes.
yeah, like at least in Chrome, right? If I right click the page, I get like the Mac OS menu, and stuff like that. But Edge is just like completely like looks like Windows 11 injected into my computer. Um, it's a little, it's not that good. Um,
Yeah. So I do have it installed, but I think I only open it. Well, the only reasons I installed it was one to tinker with Bing Chat or whatever, and I think for a little bit I was using it for like the Bing rewards points, which I only ever do for like a few weeks at a time and get lazy and forget.
yeah, I do open it occasionally for because there's the one thing in Edge that you can't do in the web version of Bing, which is like get it to process whatever you have open. So sometimes I try to make it work with like PDF documents that way. But yeah, so that's not fun.
Yeah, this is such a dumb thing. It's obviously like a miserable privacy move. And is I don't know, it just shows Microsoft is not thinking through how obviously this is going to be seen as a bad thing and should be seen as a bad thing.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is like they acknowledge that people want to turn all this off because like one of the big selling points for Edge is that it's completely configurable through Azure. So if I'm a you know, or like whatever like active domain system you're using. So like if I'm an IT guy and I need like to set up web browsers on all my employees' computers, like I can roll out Edge and tweak literally every setting, turn everything off. Like every time they introduce a new feature, there's like a setting for it in their panel. So it's like they understand that like companies want to configure this, but when it comes to normal people, like no, you're gonna get the giant Bing button and you're gonna like it. Compared to Chrome, which is also configurable in that way, but like doesn't have a lot of UI stuff to toggle on and off really.
Yeah.
Diablo said even on Windows, Edge feels too custom. Yeah, when they showed off the Bing chat stuff for the first time, they did show off that they were going to update it for Windows to fit in a little bit better with Windows 11, but I don't think any of that has shipped yet. And also, I'm not sure what like UI framework they're using for that. I don't know how that works, but I know right now it's like a weird recreation of like sort of kind of Windows in whatever framework Chrome uses. I don't know if like they're gonna, because right now Microsoft's been updating their apps to use WinUI 2 or WinUI 3. I don't know if they're gonna do that with Edge at some point because that would mean they have to have a different UI front end for Windows and something else for everything else. But I don't know. They seem more concerned with adding garbage right now. So
yeah, which I hate to say this, it sounds so reductive, but I think this is what everyone already knew was going to happen. You know, they announced that they were going to be doing Edge. Not announced they were doing Edge, but they announced that they were switching over to Chromium. They made it pretty obvious that that was going to be their direction, and they marketed how clean and pure it was going to be. And then, like, what did anyone think was going to happen after that? Did people think that Microsoft was just going to make Chrome but with a different icon? No, they were always going to do this stuff. It was just a question of which bad things they were going to do and in what way. To be fair, like stuff like the Active Directory control for corporations, that totally makes sense. That is a 1000% valid reason to do Edge by itself. But if anyone thought that that's where it was going to stop, no, not a chance. There was never a chance that it was going to stop with just that. So,
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with Opera. Like, this is how, like, I don't know who still uses Opera, but like people have to keep using it because it still exists.
Yeah.
And they add a bunch of garbage no one wants either. Back last year they added a bunch of crypto bullshit stuff. There's actually like a crypto specific version of Opera alongside the gaming specific version of Opera, and they just announced, like, I think an
AI version.
Yeah, I think that's just supposed to be an update for the normal web browser, but I don't know. I didn't actually check if they like said anything more about that, because their PR person sent me an email at like 9 a.m. Whenever that was, like the day before it was announced, and they were like, "Hey, we have an embargo for the new Opera version," and they sent me a link to a YouTube teaser, and I replied back. I was like, "All right, cool, we accept the embargo," under the assumption, like, I assume there's more, and they'll send it to me if I agree to it. I didn't get any follow-up emails, so that that might have just been it. But
professionals.
Okay. Yeah, the blog post has like marginally more stuff, but the images are mostly screen caps from the video.
Yeah.
Today we unveil Opera One, a completely redesigned browser that is planned to replace our flagship browser later this year. So yeah, it's just a new UI and has AI prompts and sidebar access to ChatGPT and ChatSonic. This is I did write an article making fun of that last year, where Opera keeps adding like sidebar integrations, and it's literally just a web view of the website in the sidebar. I don't know. I think it was Brave who were like, we're the first, it might have been Vivaldi, where they were like, we're the first web browser with Mastodon integration. And it was, you put your Mastodon server in the sidebar and you get the mobile site.
Yeah.
In the sidebar. It's like, the browser extension I made is more Mastodon integration than you've made, sir. But
oh, hey, what can you do? They have to jump on any and every trend. So
yeah, again, I don't. Opera must still be on the like manipulative loans in poor countries, because I don't know how else they're making money.
That probably is. Can you imagine seeing their books? Imagine if that's literally their number one income.
The browser's just a money laundering.
Hey, for what it's worth, I'm still convinced that Brave is just a money laundering scam.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it very literally was a money laundering scam for a while, or well, kind of a sideload advertising scheme combined with a subscription that was by its nature designed to basically launder money. Yes.
It was a front for the crypto coin, for the Brave coin.
Oh no, well, yeah, it became that too. But originally, Brave was doing that whole scheme where they were selling you ad-free websites, but they were making them ad-free without permission. Yeah. And it was one of those schemes where people subscribe now, and if the website owner will contact the company and set up an agreement, then they can collect their share of the money. And it's like, okay, sure, guys. This is literally a scheme. Like, you're awful. Yeah. You're the definition of actual bad actor. Anyway.
All right, what's next? What are we doing?
We didn't really have a good transition point into the Google Authenticator thing. But do you feel like doing that, or do you want to go into the Microsoft Activision thing? What's your feeling?
We can do the Authenticator, and you explain what it is.
Sure. Okay, so people may remember the good old Microsoft, or sorry, not. I'm already losing it.
There is a Microsoft Authenticator.
Yeah, so. There is. Of course, there is. But those plenty of people, I'm sure, remember the good old Google Authenticator. It was the wildly, outdated, ugly app that generated two-factor authentication codes. The good old time-based versions of those codes, that is. And it for a long time was how pretty much everyone got their 2FA codes for originally Google accounts and just generally a lot of other sites that slowly started jumping onto this trend. Well, over time, thanks to Authy becoming just generally the preferred method of this, sorry, I'm saying this badly, but Authy became popular because it did account syncing. Google Authenticator, when you put in a code, it would only be on the device where you entered it. And for people like me, I kid you not, I used to either screenshot the QR codes for various services so that I could slowly add them to phones as I needed them. Or whenever I reset one, I'd be sitting there with literally 5 or 6 phones copying or entering those codes all at once, so I'd have the generator on every device. Anyway, Authy sort of solved that by introducing account syncing. So you sign in, all of your codes come to you, you enter your password, and lo and behold, they are decrypted and you're now good to go. Well, Google Authenticator has now added its own account syncing feature, and it works by quite literally just your Google account. So all of your two-factor authentication codes are synced to all of your Google device, or all of the devices you have signed into your Google account. This is so stupid. This is the antithesis of good security. So, I don't know if this is opt-out. I didn't actually check. But, if you are doing this, you're basically asking people to try to steal your phone. You're asking people to try to break into your Google account. You're asking people to basically do anything and everything they can to get at your stuff because you now have everything in one place. Or at least more than you did before. So, before I continue, Corbin, anything you'd like to add or clarify in there?
I don't think so. I guess what I struggle with here is two-factor authentication is one of those things where like there's varying levels of it, right? Where you have down from like two, like you have your SMS, and then you have the app-based stuff like Authenticator and Authy, and then you have like the cloud-based ones that have like a master password or no password at all. Like I think one password was testing using like biometric auth for everything and just doing away with passwords completely because it's more secure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a range scale, and
I would also
seen...
add to that list just because also passkeys, which I have my own objections to.
That was the
that's what you meant.
That's what 1Password was doing, not biometric. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, biometrics are used with those generally to keep them from just being generated by anybody. But and then I would also add as a final step Steam and other things like that, where they have a very custom built system that usually is tied to a single device and automatically disqualifies any other device once you switch and blah blah blah. I hate those systems, but I understand them. But I still hate them. I think Steam is needlessly overindulgent with that. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah. So there is a sliding scale there, and one thing I've seen from people over the years that I think is interesting is that like is making the argument that like some two-factor is better than nothing. Like I would probably agree that like SMS two-factor, like even though it's objectively not good, like that's got to be like a couple percentages more secure than just having a password. Like obviously then you have the problem where like some of these accounts like to use that as like a recovery method, and that's where you run into problems. But like just purely like just the two-factor, like it's more secure. So you kind of run into the issue where it's like, you know, like if I'm trying to help my like a family member lock down personal accounts, and something like the fully restricted 1Password like passkeys and stuff or Authy is like too complicated for me to explain and then being able to use it, like I can just be like, here, set up the Google app on your phone, and then when you try to log in with Google, it's going to send you a little push notification that you have to click OK on. So and that way they are more secure than no password, but it's still not so complicated that they're going to lose access to things because they forget how it works. So I have been wondering if this new Google Authenticator is kind of like that, where it's like SMS, where it's like maybe marginally more secure than not using two-factor at all. But the way this is implemented, I can't tell if it's like better or worse than SMS. Maybe worse, because like I don't, because this also goes back to like how is your Google account protected, and like, you know, when Google emails you to be like, hey buddy, you're still technically logged into like 200 devices because you haven't, you know, gone through the list in like 5 years, like any one of them I guess maybe could theoretically log in and grab your authenticator keys. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this is better than no two-factor. Like I don't like is this like a still maybe valid as like a starting point, and then you get people eventually to be like, hey, you should use this other app that's better. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and that goes down about 12 different rabbit holes. Certainly, yes, the old devices getting into it is a big concern. I hold that there is obviously a big threat just in the fact that they will now this effectively makes a Google account about 3 times more attractive to hack into, just because if somebody happens to also be storing their passwords with Google Chrome, literally all you have to do is get into someone's account through whatever means, as long as you can get to sync their authenticator codes and Google Chrome passwords, which basically means you just have to steal somebody's phone. Once you have that, you will have access to everything they can sign into, again, presuming that they keep their passwords in Google Chrome. This is a terrible, terrible path to take. So
Yeah, and someone else brought up the point that Apple's like password management system also supports two-factor codes, but Apple does end-to-end encrypt those. So
yeah,
like it's not just like in the cloud, like like these codes with Google or like your Gmail emails or whatever.
yeah, and Apple is a little bit more eager to lock stuff behind either a biometric or password entry. Granted, if somebody has your password in the first place or some way to bypass the biometrics, they, at that point, everything is pretty much open season.
Right.
But they are trying a little bit harder to protect this stuff. Google, for whatever reason, isn't. Which takes me back to... I don't know if this is still true, but there was a point in history where Google was being criticized for storing all of your passwords in plain text. And everyone was universally saying, what the absolute crap? That is the dumbest thing we've ever heard. And Google's defense was literally, look, for us to decrypt them on the device, we have to have the decryption key on the device. Like, that's just how it is. So whether we store them in plain text or not doesn't make a difference. And then everyone still universally came back saying, okay, no, we get that. We understand what you're saying. It's still stupid. At least put up the barrier just because you can put up the barrier. And yeah, this screams terrible in pretty much every conceivable way. So yeah, I'm not seeing a good thing here. And I have a personal beef against even storing your accounts or storing your passwords with Google in the first place. I've been beating this drum for a long time, so I assume a few of you have probably heard me say this, but if you are storing your passwords, just passwords, but now Google Authenticator codes too, if you're storing them with Google, you are taking a wild risk. Not only is Google still a very attractive target for hackers, though, to their credit, to my knowledge, Google has been probably one of the most secure services against hackers. So huge kudos to them, but Google also has a really bad history of banning people or shutting off their accounts for some pretty trivial reasons, if not just purely out of error. Oh god, you can, if you go looking through like the Android development forums on Reddit, just try searching those and you will find story after story of people whose accounts got banned because some automated system at Google just, it saw them and said, hey, it looks like you did something fishy. We're just going to preemptively shut you down. We're just banning your account. You can appeal this at such and such URL, which for people who've tried this, they know full well that, or rather, I'll just say they had an experience a lot like mine when I tried to fix my situation with Twitch. There is no customer service at Google that you can reach through. The only customer service is if you have somewhere in excess of about 30,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah.
And even then, good luck. So,
I am interested why this got brought back, because Google Authenticator has been mostly dead for a couple years. Like I went back in because I was like, when was the last time they actually updated this? And I went to the APK Mirror page, and it's got like 5 updates in the past like 6 years. Like it's been pretty much in maintenance mode. They gave it a new design a while. The
Yeah, the
only
material
update,
design update was the last major change.
yeah, they at some point a while ago they gave it material design, the updated one, and they also added the ability for you to like move all of your two-factor codes to a new phone. And that was really it. And because like Google has been going down the same route as Apple, where they're not they have their own like system for like one of the main purposes for this was you would use Google Authenticator with your Google account. And like when you were setting up two-factor code, like that was kind of like very much branded as an option. Like here, you can use SMS or you can use Google Authenticator. But more recently, they've been pushing the like the push notification based system where you have the Google app on your phone or whatever, and it just sends you a notification when you're trying to log in. So it kind of seemed like they weren't really interested in Authenticator anymore because it wasn't needed for their services anymore. So at that point, they're just building a generic app. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so I'm increasingly feeling like, well, there's so many ways to go off that, but yeah, I was fine with them leaving Authenticator in more or less a maintenance mode because there weren't a lot of things that needed changing. It's using an algorithm that's been around for a decade plus.
Yeah.
Well, way over a decade. And the algorithm is not changing. So far it doesn't need to change. There's no particular exploit or vulnerability to the algorithm. So in practical terms, leave it as it is. It's kind of just working. And update it to whatever new pretty or not so pretty design language you're currently using. That's fine. I don't see a benefit to have added this in because it's not like they're making money off of it, and it's not like there was any particular benefits to adding this in that you couldn't have already had with the ability to move your codes to another phone. Actually, out of curiosity, if you use that feature to move codes, did it remove them from the original phone, or is it now just both phones have the codes?
I have no idea.
Okay,
I've never tried that because I've been on Authy for forever now.
Yeah, me too. And
I was living the Google Authenticator life for a little bit, which meant like, oh, I gotta this is my main phone for a while. Time to scan a lot of QR codes for like an hour. And then once you get past the like 10 accounts that you should be using two-factor for, it's like I have to give in and use one of the cloud things now. But what's cool about Authy is that it is cloud-based, and granted, Twilio has had like some security issues. As far as I know, nothing where like they're stealing codes. I don't know, but again, even if they steal the codes, it's like one half of the equation versus if someone gets your Google account and you're using this, that's worse. But
yeah,
with Authy, they have a feature where you can shut off the ability to log in. So like basically, if I get a new phone or something, I go to my Authy app and I flip on the ability I flip on the cloud sync and log in. I log in and then I turn it off again. And then even if someone has like whatever you need to log into my Authy, I think it's my phone number and like one other thing. Oh yeah, it's the phone number and the backup password. If they somehow get both of those things, they still can't like sync unless I flip that switch again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like another like little thing that Google doesn't seem to have here. So yeah, not great.
Yeah, so you brought up the point of once you get over a certain number of accounts, it starts becoming a little impractical. And yeah, as I'm looking through this, and I've got looks to be 20 accounts, a couple of dead ones too, but it looks like I have 20 different accounts in this list.
What do I have? I have
so yeah,
4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have around 30. Yeah. Although, like, one of these is like a family member's account that I have in here just in case they get locked out of everything.
Yep.
And some other stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
I've got a couple of oddball ones. I'm not counting those that are not really mine.
Yeah.
But they're for other things.
Yeah, because again, like, you should enable this wherever you can, so then you get to the point it's like, gosh, I have a lot of codes.
Well,
you don't want to be that guy. I have seen people do this where they like keep like a hidden vault somewhere with like printouts of their QR codes for generating the password so they can do all of this again without like spending 3 hours doing. It's like, no, you're defeating the point.
I mean, you are, but you aren't.
Yeah, it's like you have to, like, how quickly are the robbers gonna find my QR code vault and break it?
But yeah, as I look at this, like, the thing is, some of these QR codes are also for services I'm sorry, but I don't need them. Or rather, I don't agree with having a need to have a QR code for some of this stuff. Like one of these, as some of you obviously know, I did a lot of, I've seen a lot of movie screeners because of doing the movie post. Like PR companies would send me early access to movies. One of the screening companies requires a QR code or a two-factor authentication code. Why? Come on, it's a movie screener. And I'm not going to name which one, but oh my god, they did not do good movies in the first place, so real waste of time. No one is trying to see your movie ahead of time, trust me. So yeah, some services have gone out of their way to add this as a feature when they probably shouldn't. That said, yeah, two-factor authentication codes are great. In any sort of multi-factor authentication is a fantastic solution. It really is better security, generally speaking. But it bothers me so much that they are basically designed to be a very tedious thing that just slows down your ability to get into something, at least generally speaking. And I'd love to see something better. That said, I don't feel like passkey is exactly that better thing yet.
Yeah.
I wrote about passkeys a few months ago when Google hyped up that it was really pushing these as kind of like the next step forward. And the more I looked into how passkeys work, and I spent way too much time researching them before writing that article, they sound great. And there are ways in which they are certainly better than passwords today. But they also have a lot of problems with them. And very fundamentally, one of the biggest ones is most of the companies that are getting involved with passkeys, you end up still having your passkey somehow attached to that big, large company that can someday ban you. And thus take away your access to a whole bunch of websites. This is not a good solution. We need more self-hosted or I'll just say services whose only purpose is to maintain your access stuff.
Right.
If you gave me a company that was willing to do this and had no reason to ever ban people, I'll pay a few bucks a year for that 100%.
Right. Like
Done.
where's the postal office of passkeys? Just like run it, like literally everyone can access it. I know some people get banned from the post office, but it's usually because they've committed like mini crimes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's really no way that I can't think of a good way that you're going to get yourself banned from being able to store data just for yourself that doesn't take up a lot of space and is not inherently a scam.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so earlier Diablo also asked if two-factor authentication codes through RCS would be better than like SMS two-factor. The starting answer is yes, just because RCS can at least have some encryption to it, though it doesn't by default. So yeah, that is a step in a better direction. It is supposed to be, though in a second I'm going to complain why it's not. It is supposed to be better in terms of like security, where it's harder for people to just sort like clone a phone and things like that. The problem is RCS can also stay enabled on a phone after the phone has been handed to someone else and the SIM card's pulled out and things like that. A friend of mine literally was asking me, or confused about this, asked me just this last weekend how a friend of theirs had a Android phone. He took the SIM card out of it, put it into his new iPhone, and she was able to message him just fine. But her boyfriend's phone, the exact same phone, was every time he messaged him, the message would go to the guy's old Android phone. And as I'm hearing this, it's like, oh, this is an RCS screw up. Guaranteed. That it's literally the only explanation. And yeah, that is the issue. So yeah, RCS is not what I would call a great two-factor authentication solution, but it's slightly better than SMS in some ways. Kind of currently technically worse than others, which is just so dumb. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So ironically, if somebody were to steal your phone and you are, for whatever reason, unable to erase it remotely, if you have two-factor authentication codes sent via RCS to that phone, even if you go to your carrier and have the carrier deactivate the SIM card, they will still get your 2FA codes. Yeah, holy crap, that's so dumb. Good reason not to actually have RCS as a two-factor authentication method yet.
Yeah, honestly, I think no one needs to use two-factor services. Just give me your passwords and I'll take care of them. I think that's the solution here.
Corbyn takes the short road to fascism.
Just trust me. I don't know what the issue is. Yeah, so that was a fun thing. I guess talk about the Activision's. Oh, there was the breaking news, the breaking leak about the ROG Ally that I think who posted in the Ramble. Austin did. The Asus ROG Ally, according to one leak, will reportedly start at $700.
Oh,
so yeah. And supposedly that's for the model with 16 gigs of RAM, a Z1 Extreme, and a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. So, if that's true, that's not bad.
Thank you to Snoopy Tech for throwing that one out for us. And yeah, that price feels surprisingly.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the price for one of the higher end ones. They don't know what the entry level model is.
Yeah, but that's actually more.
Yeah,
like that's even better news. Because frankly, when they said the price was going to be under 1,000, if I'm not mistaken, they weren't even talking about which model was going to be under 1,000. I believe the going theory is that even the base model might be the one that was what they were talking about, and the higher end models might be more expensive. If one of the high end models is $700, that's extremely competitive. Now, granted, battery life could still be terrible, but we'll see.
So, Not bad. I guess we can talk about the Activision. Then I probably need to go pick up my groceries.
Austin saying rest in peace Pixel tablet. Yeah. I think that future was already written.
It would be interesting if Google tried to make one of these.
With Android?
Yeah. Like,
or even Chrome OS?
No.
I don't see this.
Okay. I mean, they are building Steam on Chrome OS, so
I don't see which operating system they would choose to use. Two,
that'd be terrible.
Google's history with games and gaming companies and all the like, not great. I mean, who wants to work with them after Stadia?
I mean, but like the point is that they wouldn't have to work with Google because it would just be like a gamepad hooked up to an Android phone with the Play Store.
Right, but then
there's already a lot of
why have a gaming device if you can just have a phone?
Because my phone doesn't have physical controls.
But then you could just get one of those like add-on.
They're
Mad
not
Cats or whatever controllers.
Okay,
I know it's not Mad Cats, but
yeah. I think I mentioned this already, but I did buy a used Logitech G Cloud recently, which is Logitech's cloud gaming handheld, which is kind of a funny concept, but basically this is just like a mid-range Android phone with in the shape of a Switch, and I really like it. The I think it's $400 MSRP. That's really silly, but
yeah,
it's been on sale for like $250, I think. I got this on Swappa for like $220. And it's pretty nice. I mostly got it for Xbox local streaming, because I wanted a way to like keep playing my Xbox games not in front of my couch, and I don't have like a TV thing in my bedroom or anything. Works great for that. I've tried some of the Xbox cloud gaming on here. Works mostly fine. And because this has like the full like Play Store and everything, so I did download like Minecraft. Most Android games that support controller input work. I found like 2 that didn't, but I've got Minecraft on here. I've got a lot of emulators. It's a nice little thing. I've been playing some Mass Effect and Fall Guys on here. Fall Guys is on my Switch also, so that one's less impressive, but it's nice to have like keep playing my Xbox games but on this. And I've been playing some Paper Mario N64 as well. So this I think these do have a reason to exist, but it is more niche. Definitely not like this is like completely different from like what you would buy a Nintendo Switch for.
Yeah,
like there's almost no overlap between those two things. Like this and my Switch both have Minecraft. I think that might be the extent of what is available. That added like some like indie games that are also on Android and Switch, but it's like completely different things. And like also the same goes for like this versus like all of these Windows PC things or the Steam Deck. Where like this has like all those things also have Minecraft and emulators, but then there's like also completely different Venn diagram there.
So yeah, anyway, I just don't see Google having much of a good track record with games, gaming devices, or anything in that category. But hey, maybe I'm being too harsh.
Maybe.
As I look over at my 3 Stadia controllers. God, you know what? Just as a side note, I hate that I opened up. I hate opening up this Twitter post for the leaked price, and then just looking over at the trending topics just makes me go, ugh. How is Epstein trending again? It's just seriously, how? Why? I don't want to look.
No,
there's no benefit to looking.
Nothing good in there.
But seriously, how can anyone still talk about this? Anyway,
I guess on the note of like Google making one of these, there's a lot of things like this that like I wish Google would make, but I've long since given up on them doing it. Like my thing I wanted Google to do for forever was make a e-ink Google Playbooks reader, because I was using Playbooks for a long time, and I was like, I would really like an actual e-reader that hooks into this. And for a while, that was my rooted Nook Simple Touch. But then eventually that became so old it would no longer connect to those servers. So it's like, all right, great, I don't have an option here anymore. There's a lot of like Google ecosystem stuff like that where like it would be nice if there was hardware that plugs into this, but Google just refuses to do anything like that. So it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a complaint with like Apple's whole book ecosystem too. Like no, I don't really want to read books on an iPad screen all that much. Like, sure, I guess if I have to, but it's not ideal.
I'll hold to the standard that it depends on what it is. If there's a lot of pictures, imagery, anything like that, yeah, give it to me on an iPad screen, a nice bright color screen with good refresh rates, the whole nine. If you're reading a classic book, yeah, okay, throw that on e-ink. That makes sense. That said, I don't remember the last time I had time to read a book proper, so
I'm trying, but I keep getting distracted by all these gosh darn video games. Now that I have a console, like, whoa, look at all these games I didn't care about before.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all these games that were so large they wouldn't fit on my PC, so I just didn't try anything.
Yeah. So
seriously, all these games get so big.
Yeah, anyway.
Speaking of big and games.
Yes.
There we go.
Transitioned-ish.
Yeah. So where was a good article about this?
Okay, I've got the Verge article pulled up. I'll throw that into the chat.
That's good.
Though I guess I only skimmed this. I've seen details from like a dozen other articles, so it's all kind of a patchwork in my head.
Yeah, the crux of this is that Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard has now been blocked by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, which I believe is sort of like their FTC, sort of.
Yes.
But basically, they've been investigating this for a while. They're like one of like 3 or 4 organizations that were like maybe could put a stop to this if they wanted to. The US seems to have checked out already. They're fine with it. I don't think the EU had any major complaints, but of course, UK is not in the EU anymore.
Yeah, true.
So their complaint is mostly focused on like how this affects cloud gaming, which is an interesting angle. Basically saying that it's gonna like it could potentially kill like basically any other competitor, because everyone likes all the games that Microsoft, because I guess if you theoretically tried to launch a cloud gaming service that did not have anything from all of Microsoft Studios and all of Activision Studios, it would be kind of difficult to do that. And that's also why conveniently Microsoft started allowing GeForce Now and a bunch of other cloud gaming services to have all their games because they're trying to show that they're not actually anti-competitive.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to go with cloud gaming as an argument for this, like something that's very much still a niche thing, and maybe will never go mainstream. Certainly not anytime soon.
Well, seeing as we just saw 2 of the 3 only significant cloud gaming services just crash in the last year. Luna has crashed, right? Or it's officially going to? Or
not officially, but it's
okay.
It's losing games. It's not adding new games all that fast, and there's not a lot of interest in it. So
yeah, I never hear anyone talk about it or mention it in any context anymore, except people saying that they thought it was already dead. And so GeForce Now is basically the last game in town, no pun intended. And
GeForce Now and Xbox Cloud.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Xbox Cloud, and eventually Sony will supposedly have their stuff together, I guess.
Sometime, yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest of the will sees. So, all said and done, yeah, we're getting into a weird sort of consolidation territory. It would actually be kind of funny if Nintendo jumps in on this, but I kind of doubt they will. But yeah, I agree. It is an interesting angle. I'm kind of curious who brought this argument to them, because I don't believe for a second that this is something that they came up with inside of their own offices. So somebody with an interest in cloud gaming had to have brought this argument in to the UK and basically said, we're pretty sure that this is bad for cloud gaming. Maybe that's the angle you can use to block this.
I could see this as like, this is the strongest argument they can make from a competitive standpoint. I can see that sort of like a lot of the like the current investigation into like Trump's payment to Stormy Daniels, and the fact that it's like using campaign money. Like that in itself is not like absolutely the worst thing ever, but like Trump just has lawyered out of so many other things that like this is one of the few things that could get him on make him pay, has some very small repercussions for all the shit he's done. So I wonder if this is maybe something like that.
Well, I mean, strictly speaking, I kind of don't like that comparison, just because the Trump case, frankly, is kind of, that particular one is pretty weak and looks awkward, we'll just say. In this particular case, it is actually a pretty credible argument. It's just an argument that so few people will care about, because cloud gaming is inherently like a distant also ran. And until a day comes that there is a reason for people to jump on cloud gaming, we're probably not going to see a particularly successful cloud gaming attempt.
Right, like the Verge, they quoted the decision, which mentions that where was it?
Microsoft has a strong position in cloud gaming services, and the evidence available to the CMA showed that Microsoft would find it commercially beneficial to make Activision's games exclusive to its own cloud gaming service, says the CMA. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so, but yeah, like basically they're making the argument that this is an emerging market that will be a huge deal at some point, which is an assumption. But it's like, I guess it's harder to disprove than some of the other stuff they've been throwing. Again, like I really don't think this should go through for like 100 different reasons. So if this is what they can latch onto and make it stick, that's great. So
yeah, and you certainly made this point in Discord earlier, that on the basis alone of how many people would lose their jobs if this acquisition
Yeah.
goes through. Which technically is an assumption. We don't know for a fact that they would be crashing tons and tons of people's jobs, but I tend to think that's a pretty reasonable assumption. There's no reason to think that they wouldn't at least fire some redundant people.
Right.
That being
Because
said,
it happens in every single large merger.
yeah. That being said, you got to figure the regulators, they know this. They're coming away with this from the same assumptions of, we'd rather not see this acquisition happen. And they might have dozens or hundreds of reasons they don't want to see it happen, but no single one of those reasons would necessarily be credible or wouldn't be an assumption of what's going to happen as opposed to just actually knowing it. This also is an assumption that it's going to impact cloud gaming, but it's an assumption that is objectively on the credible side, and it's hard for Microsoft to turn around and make a compelling argument saying, "Oh, well, we promise if other cloud gaming services, if they pop up, we promise we'll just make our games available to them." But do you?
Yeah,
You can't sign a contract to that effect. You can't.
Right.
You can't commit to a non-existent thing that you'll be kind to it at a decent price and things like that. So
Right. That's sort of like if they went to Microsoft and was like, okay, you can buy Activision, but you have to promise no one from Activision ever gets fired. Like, it's like, you can't.
Yeah,
like,
you obviously can't promise that because
yeah.
We know from plenty of reports there are quite a few people at Blizzard who need to be fired, like actively. They have really terrible histories with their with HR that basically demand they need to be fired. They should have been fired years ago. They are horrible people. And so, yeah, Microsoft kind of does genuinely need to fire some people. But not, that doesn't mean that they need to be firing the redundant people, but those people will get fired too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, like if I was a world government, that would be my concern right now, because the tech job industry right now is absolutely horrendous. Like, it's like just constant horror stories of
Can attest.
yeah, and I know. I was like, yeah, like just absolutely terrible. Like, no one can find any jobs. Every company's still playing the old playbook of like pretending the market is like that. I guess the word I'm looking for is like that it's still okay to jump through so many hoops in the process. Like, there's just again, like it was already bad, and then COVID happened, and then in the past couple months, every single one of these huge tech companies has done layoff after layoff. So it's like, if I was a government, I'd be like, okay, Microsoft, you just laid off a fuck ton of people, and now you want my permission to buy a company so you can lay off another fuck ton of people that I will have to support through job programs or whatever else exists to help people find another job, or stay, if they can't find a job, then they need assistance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if I'm a government, that would be my angle, is like, no, you're gonna fuck up my economy even more. Get your shit together first. But
And all this while the company will also lobby for more tax breaks. And
Right.
in all likelihood, since they're paying for fewer people, they'll also be paying less money, which means less money in taxes from those employees. Yeah, there's really no version of this where it's good for the government. And it just keeps creating more trouble. So Diablo brought up, and thank you for this. So much thank you for this, because I was trying to find a good excuse to bring up the T-Mobile Sprint situation. This has been brought up a lot in the last, pretty much ever since this acquisition was even mentioned. And the T-Mobile Sprint situation, back when it happened, I argued one specific reason why I supported it happening, and it's the exact opposite of the situation that's going on with the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal. The big, huge fundamental problem is that Sprint was dying. T-Mobile basically was a savior in that situation. Sprint was losing money. It was hemorrhaging money almost. I don't know if hemorrhaging would technically be the accurate word, but they were losing money, and the odds of the network staying operational in, say, 5 years was pretty low. Not impossible, and it's not implausible that they could possibly have turned it around, but it wasn't likely. And plus, there were incentives with the Sprint situation where, you know, you've got a foreign company that owns American infrastructure. There were a lot of reasons why that one, in practical terms, really did actually have a good justification for going through. Activision, on the other hand, is a profitable company. They're making money. If nothing happens, Activision will continue to make money. They are profitable. They will continue making games. They can move forward with they're making enough money that they could be doing acquisitions of their own.
Yeah.
They are in a very strong market position. That's not to say that they're in the strongest position. Obviously, they could be stronger if they're owned by, let's say, a platform owner, but they're in great position today. So, what is, like, they have no objective need to be owned by Microsoft. This is, in practical terms, from the business side of it, the owners of Activision, they want their payout. They want the payday. They want to escape while they can with a nice big happy profit. And in the process, they would make Microsoft very happy, and everyone's stock goes up, and they all get richer. But that's good for them, and only them. Now, there are arguments from gamers that this is also good for gamers. In the individual franchises, maybe. Some franchises might actually benefit from this. Kirby has certainly brought up that Activision, with Call of Duty, that Call of Duty might actually improve as a result of this. I don't personally know enough about that, so I can't really comment. But I question how much good this would actually do for any of the other franchises. There are rumors that Phil Spencer obviously brought up various franchise names that were kind of casually throwing around hey, we could bring this back. Well, how about committing to that? Nobody knows Guitar Hero's coming back. No one knows Hexen is coming back. By the way, I loved Hexen back in the day. I'm not so convinced they do a good iteration of it today, but whatever.
Right, and again, like, those are all things like Activision, like, Microsoft is not required to bring back Guitar Hero. Like, they could have done that last year. Mm-hmm. They could do it tomorrow if the acquisition doesn't go through. It's just it's weird. The arguments for this are shaky at best. Again, I really don't like the trend I'm seeing where fan bases are sort of weaponized to push through large corporate mergers. That I don't know if it's a new thing. Maybe this was happening in like the 80s and I wasn't alive to see it, but certainly in the past couple of years, especially in the entertainment industry, this has been insane. With everything that happened when Disney was working to buy Fox, and I swear like half the comments on this were like, yeah, let them buy Fox. Fox can't make a good X-Men movie. I want a good X-Men movie. I want a good Fantastic Four movie. and it's like, okay, that is so that so does not matter. And again, like like it's the same thing. Like Fox doesn't need Disney to make a good X-Men movie. They made a few I think are pretty good, all on their own. They could try harder if that's something they wanted to do.
Okay, let's be honest, that was kind of by mistake, but okay.
Yeah. So, and it was the same thing when Disney and Sony were in a little bit of a tussle over Spider-Man rights. I don't know if that was like 2 or 3 years ago, whenever that was.
It was a
Where
bit more,
like,
but yeah.
yeah, where it was like maybe Spider-Man can't appear in MCU movies anymore because Sony has the rights and they can sub-license it back to Marvel or whoever. And there was just a flood of people who were like, Disney should just buy Sony. And I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like, Disney does not need to get bigger. I don't know what is wrong with you, where you're like, yeah, do you know how big Sony is? Like, they do more than just movies also. They have like a whole other thing.
Oh, and not only that, they own multiple streaming networks.
Yeah.
They own multiple movie studios. They own a gaming studio, don't they? I thought they did.
Well, if it's PlayStation Studios, yeah, like they own a couple studios under that. They own
No, I was talking Disney.
Oh
no, Sony. Yeah, all those things are true. Sony too.
Yeah, like Disney buys Destiny. Like, okay, like I don't know if Disney has any game studios anymore. I think they license their stuff out.
Yeah,
they definitely did.
True.
They did years ago, but then they killed like Lucasfilms Arts and or LucasArts Games. I forget what it's called, but yeah. So yes, it's just it's stuff like that where I'm just like, you guys need to think about this for more than 5 seconds. Like, I know it'd be nice to have better X-Men movies, which honestly at this point,
no, like, God, what terrible thing are you gonna say?
Yeah, like the way Marvel movies are going, I think it's entirely possible at this point Disney's gonna shit out an X-Men movie that's worse than half of the Fox X-Men movies. Like, it's not going in a great direction over
there. I don't know that I can agree, disagree, or counteract any of that, because it's all kind of right and wrong. But
the Fox X-Men movies were such a wide range of quality.
Yeah, they really were.
Yeah, like I don't have any like, especially when I think of like something like Logan or even the first Deadpool. Like, I don't think Disney would have tried anything like that.
Oh God, no.
So
no.
Again, so
well, like Disney has some wild things. When you go look through the list, they have a few wild things in their history. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, like that's again like just this concept I'm seeing more and more of. It's like I want a thing in a movie or TV show, so it's okay that the megacorps get bigger. It's like, no, stop it. I'm gonna like grab you, like shake you, like, no, stop talking like that.
Oh wow, damn it, you said that and it just made me think of a joke that I really don't want to say because it'll get me canceled. Anyway,
yeah, Kirby corrected me. It was LucasArts. That was the game studio that was under Lucasfilm.
Yeah,
that was making a really cool Star Wars game that had a trailer and it never came out. And then EA got the Star Wars license. Very sad. Kirby also said, has Disney made an X-Men movie?
If they haven't, then you can't say X-Men movies have gotten better.
No, they haven't made one in the MCU. There was that one that came out after the acquisition finished, but it was like
the last movie was that one.
Yeah, that came out, I believe, after
the so yeah, I guess technically they, on a very very loose extension, they technically made an X-Men movie.
Not in a way that matters, but yeah. I think Barry said, if they haven't, then then you can't say X-Men movies have gotten better.
So really quick, I will confirm, because I know you didn't actually watch Last Mutants. Yeah, it's
No.
not good.
Yeah.
Would I say it's better or worse than the X-Men movies that had come out? It's, little like low end of the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Um,
Dark Phoenix was a real stinker.
Oh god, it really was. So was it Apocalypse?
Yeah, that was the one before that. I liked Apocalypse a little bit. There was some.
There were
bits in
things
it
not to hate in it.
Right. Some parts look cool. I was watching the movie, was like, this is cool. I like, it's like, because like ultimately I am watching a movie where people like move things with their hands. I'm like, that's cool. I'm enjoying this. But yeah, Dark Phoenix was not good, but I did enjoy that bit at the end where they're fighting on the train and they make the train like spin up in the air and you have people slamming things against the train walls. That was kind of cool.
I actually don't remember that. I'd have to
That was the
rewatch them. Rewatching sounds like a terrible idea. So
yeah, that was like the only part I was like, that's kind of cool. But also, music was pretty good. They got my boy Hans Zimmer back for that, which was very funny because like a couple years before that, it might not even been multiple years, but he worked on the music for Batman v Superman, and then after that he was like, I'm not gonna make music for superhero movies anymore because they all just kind of sound the same after a while. And then he makes the soundtrack for Dark Phoenix, which sounds a lot like everything else he's ever made. So kind of proving his point. But I like most of his music, so it's fine. I liked it.
Okay, but is it possible that he agreed to make that before he said, or maybe he even made it before he said he wasn't going to do anymore? There's a chance that
I think he's might have also done other stuff again. I haven't seen what he's up to, but yeah,
let's be honest, the paychecks are good enough. I'm sure he's not going to really say no. And there's also Diablo saying can't wait for the next Deadpool. Can any of us? I mean, really?
Is that even happening?
Yeah.
Is
did they already have casting done, or had they already started filming? I don't remember. But
this just seems like it's been in development hell for forever. But maybe that's because my sense of time is warped.
But yeah, I know there was some recent mention of progress on it. I don't remember specifics. I admit I don't really follow it too closely until it's pretty close to release. Regardless, so anyway, going back to the acquisition, by and large, I don't see this having okay. I will agree. I think in the short term, this probably would actually have a lot of very positive effects in some ways. I think by firing some of the frat boys that Blizzard has been keeping employed for ages, that would probably actually increase quality on at least some of their some of the games under the Blizzard umbrella. And I don't know enough about Activision stuff to know exactly how it would improve that. Kirby certainly believes that would help, so cheers to that. But these are experiential changes that would, they might be nice for the gamers, but I don't see any reason Activision can't make those changes on its own.
Right. Yeah, like there's no secret sauce here that like
generally
Activision desperately needs. Like they just like again, like the reason why Xbox is doing well right now is because they're actually listening to the people who buy their products, which is a pretty simple thing to do, but most companies don't do that because it's easier just to not do that and do whatever makes the most money.
Well,
so,
at this scale, I hate saying these words because it sounds like I'm defending the terrible companies, but at scale, it actually does become kind of hard to listen to your audience because your audience is in about 1,000 different places. Anything from people doing YouTube reviews to people on Reddit, people on various forums, whether it's the ones you run as a company or various other like gamer-oriented forums. Obviously, people commenting in like the comment section on news posts, etc., etc. And
Right, there's a lot of noise.
yeah, and generally speaking, the problem is the people who are openly commenting on this stuff only amount for, and you know this, they're maybe 5% of your actual audience. So if you listen to everything they say, you're probably not actually catering to your audience. You're just catering to some really angry, loudmouth people.
Yeah.
And then, the counter to that is you can try doing surveys, but man, no one wants to answer surveys, especially because they usually don't do any good. So, and your surveys will always ask questions based on what you think is important. You'll never be asking questions that actually apply to what other people think. So,
right. Ultimately, a lot of the decision making here is coming from, did a thing sell as well as we want?
Yeah.
And again, because Activision is in such a strong position, they could sell a literal like bag of dog shit with like the Call of Duty or a logo on it. It would still sell pretty well. So it's difficult, and again, like, there really is nothing that like Microsoft holds the key to. Like, it's just a couple good decisions that other companies can emulate. Yeah, like Kirby brought up, like Phil Spencer. Like, Activision could have a Phil Spencer, not him.
They could
can't
hire
clone.
a Phil Spencer if they don't have one already.
Right. Like, they can do all these things, but it behooves them to pretend they can't, so then they can, when they're making the argument that they should be bought by Microsoft, they can be like, look, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, just that guy can do it. Which literally what Sprint did. Like, guys, we have no idea what we're doing.
Except in Sprint's case, it was really proven.
It was true. It was absolutely true. They had no idea what they were doing.
and that their guy just genuinely didn't know how to make money. At least Activision's guy does. Not to say that that's good for the game itself, but from the company perspective, Activision is still, again, a profitable company, and they remain profitable. Now, I'm going to throw out another angle on this. So, there's nothing, to my knowledge, that is preventing Activision from just straight up selling Call of Duty to Microsoft. They can remain a company. They can continue operating all of their other franchises. They can start making a Guitar Hero again, or any number of other things, and just simply sell off Call of Duty. I mean, what's stopping gamers from being happy with that answer? I don't see an actual... Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they'll do this, because Call of Duty is ridiculously profitable, and of course, Activision doesn't want to let go of... I'm assuming their biggest franchise. I don't know that, but seeing as that's all anyone wants to talk about, let's assume it is. What's stopping them from actually doing this? At just selling one single franchise to Microsoft, send their developers over to Microsoft, who will no doubt fire half of them, and all of a sudden, like, would that not make Call of Duty profitable? Or not profitable, but would that not be the answer that every gamer is hoping for? It seems like that could solve everyone's hopes, except for the people that get fired, because they're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be interesting to try to separate them, because also what Activision's done is they've, again, like, going back to the things that they could not do if they wanted to, but they did anyway, is they've sort of gutted several of their studios to the point where they're just Call of Duty studios. Right, like, I forget what it was, but there was a studio that made like the updated like Spyro trilogy and stuff, and they just got shoveled into working on Call of Duty. Like, so much of their company exists just to feed this one beast. So I guess it'd be an interesting question of like, what does sell Call of Duty mean? Like, do the studios change, or do they just like stop doing that and Microsoft can assign Call of Duty to someone else? I don't know, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It- well, you know, just to give this an image of how I said it, not necessarily how it would happen, but to me, in my mind, it would be no different than when Motorola sold a Motorola Mobility to Google, or when Google
right.
bought the Pixel division from HTC. You know, these are things where they took part and parcel this chunk of a company and handed it over, including employees, including all of their patents, including pretty much everything that made up that piece just went to another company. One day their checks start getting signed by somebody else. And yeah, there's, in practical terms, there's, to my knowledge, nothing stopping that from happening. Um,
Right.
and
Except
ironically,
that,
that could actually get them past these acquisition blocks. But again, that would
right.
mean Activision Blizzard would have to exist on its own, reliant on other franchises, which at that point probably would cease to be plausible. Unless, of course, they sold it for enough, in which case, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it'd be funny to treat Call of Duty like TSMC or something, where it's like this entity that must continue to exist or the entire industry collapses. So it's just going to be like partially owned by every gaming company.
Oh god, that'd be hilarious.
It's just like, yeah, there's like a holding company of like 1,000 gaming companies. They all own Call of Duty, but um, no, I mean, I think it goes sort of looping it in with the job losses, where so much of this is dependent on the company culture, and that's something that Microsoft isn't like all that great at. And Activision is so bad. Like it's so terrible. There's so many like sexual assault stuff. I think their CEO that keeps getting in trouble.
Was it assault or just harassment? I mean,
I think it was
you know,
mostly harassment, if I remember. I remember obviously the thing where like Activision employees were like drinking the like breast milk of the moms who came into the office, like that thing.
I forgot.
There's just there's so much of that. There's the whole thing where they're just they're just constantly union busting. Like Microsoft seems to be a little bit better in that regard, but they're still like a big company where it's like, hey, we would really like you guys not to do that. But if you're really gonna do that, okay, that's fine. Whereas Activision will show up to the office with a gun and tell you not to do that. So I like it's stuff like that again, like they don't need Microsoft for this. The only reason that executives would push for this is because all of them get a lot of money when this goes through.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the same, like most of the reason all of these happen is because they would like to just have a nice payday and not have to do work anymore. So it's just I just find all of this really bizarre. And also from like my selfish point of view, if I'm being selfish, is I don't give a shit about most of what Activision Blizzard does. Like I've never been into Call of Duty. That just like entirely went over my head. I played some when I was like 12 or whatever, like hanging out at a friend's house on his Xbox. I never got into like Diablo or StarCraft or any of that stuff. I played probably my biggest experience with them was Overwatch 1, which I did play for a couple years, but I stopped because it was pretty bad for my mental health.
That's because of who you were playing with.
No, well,
yeah, no. That's a little bit.
No, this was after that.
Okay.
Yeah, it got to a point where I was like, because like how I would play it is like, all right, I can't stop myself from playing the competitive mode because then I get a score. And I like seeing the score go up, and then it was literally like gambling, where it's like, I'm just gonna play one more game, my score will go up. Nope, lost the game, score went down. And that proceeded to happen like 10 times. Like, I need to not play this game anymore. This is not good for me. I need to like play Minecraft or something else less crazy. So like I don't have like there's nothing I like super love over there. And as someone who is now bought into the Xbox ecosystem, with some percentage of that being because they bought Bethesda, which I do play a lot of games from, and I want to play Starfield when it comes out. And of course, the only box that's coming out on is the one Microsoft owns. So, sort of playing a part in this. But I know, like, if they buy Activision, like, prices have to go up for something over there. Like, either Game Pass goes up in price, or they have to find a different way to subsidize it, because what are they buying them for, like 60 billion or something?
68.7 billion.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And obviously, like, Microsoft and Activision both are bringing in a lot of money, like, every quarter, so they could just ride it out, but that's usually not how companies operate. They're gonna buy it and then lay off a lot of people, so they don't have to pay all those employees anymore, and they'll find some other revenue stream or vertical integration or something. So my selfish concern of this is not from the place of someone who's like, I want Activision and Blizzard games to get better. It's from the point of, I don't care about this, and Microsoft will find a way to charge me more money because they want to do this.
So yeah, obviously my position, and this is certainly where we likely differ from Kirby on this, is, yeah, I don't really care how this changes the game. Obviously I would like to see anything change the game for the better, because of course, I just want all things in every context to just generally be better. But yeah, I don't have any personal stake in how the game gets changed. That being said, I'm looking at this from the perspective, one, how many people are going to lose their jobs with this acquisition. I think that's inevitably, there will be more than just the frat boys. The frat boys, most people agree, yay, go ahead, fire them. But I think a lot of people are just collectively...
It's got to be in the thousands, at least, of people who get canned. Or at least lower thousands. Because, like...
that are going to be fired, or that are being fired for, say, sexual harassment?
No, just fired, like layoffs.
Okay,
like,
yes.
Redundancy.
Yeah, I'm sure the number will probably be in the thousands.
Yeah, because, like, obviously a lot of the people at Activision are the people in the game studios, where, like, you have multiple game studios anyway, but, like, maybe Microsoft merges a couple of those, and on top of that, there's, like, all of the, like, corporate infrastructure stuff that doesn't need to be there anymore if they merge. Like, Blizzard has a whole, like launcher multiplayer system thing that could get canned at some point, because it's just a duplicate of what Microsoft has. So
yeah. So overall, I care about...
Overall, I can't believe the UK is doing something right. That's just that's pretty cool. They've been on a losing streak for a while. I'm happy they're doing something over there.
This looks good. The problem I also see in this instance is, if the EU has mostly signed off on this, and now it looks like the US has presumably signed off. I wasn't following it closely enough, but I think they did too. If it's just the UK that is going to cry foul, part of me thinks that this might just go forward and they'll basically raise a middle finger to the UK. Because to my knowledge, the UK doesn't really have the ability to pull its weight and actually stop this.
Right. Yeah, because, like, or Microsoft could go through, but they agree to some, like, really insane a thing specific to the UK, which, again, then they could use to pull their weight and complain about how the UK was treating them unfairly. Like they'll make Game Pass in the UK like 3 times more expensive or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and like especially I find it difficult to like I know so much of this battle has just been like lawyers using lawyer language or like pulling every single stop imaginable. So like they're representing the company, but like in a way that's completely comical and doesn't make any sense. Like Sony kept, saying like, "Oh, all of our games are shit. Like, if Call of Duty doesn't come out on PlayStation, like we're ruined. We're absolutely ruined. We have no games. No one likes our games." So stuff like that. But the quotes in this Verge article are honestly pretty chilling. Microsoft's statement to The Verge said, "We remain fully committed to this acquisition and will appeal. The CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. We have already signed contracts to make Activision Blizzard's popular games available on 150 million more devices." I assume you're talking about like Switch and stuff there. That was kind of their thing. "And we remain committed to reinforcing these agreements through regulatory remedies. We're especially disappointed that after lengthy deliberations, this decision appears to reflect a flawed understanding of this market and the way cloud gaming works." Activision statement is something where they say, "The report's conclusions are a disservice to UK citizens who face increasingly dire economic prospects. We will reassess our growth plans for the UK, global innovators large and small. We'll take note that despite all its rhetoric, the UK is clearly closed for business." That's terrible. They're like, man, you guys are like literally like mob shit. Like you guys are doing pretty bad over there. You wouldn't want to make it worse, would you?
Yeah, it is a weird way of making a threat, especially a gaming company. Like this reads almost sort of like if we have whatever offices we have over there, we could just close them. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, it reads really bad. So. Yeah, I just don't see any way that letting these guys go through with this is good for certainly the UK. I mean, at this point, that's actually kind of obvious it's bad for the UK. Though, yeah. As a bit of a counter to that point, I kind of wonder if maybe the UK throwing this roadblock in the way is just a negotiating tactic to try to get them to agree to something more before they give it the green light.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, basically along the lines of you need to open a game studio, employ this many more people. If you do, all right, we're good.
Right. That's the normal government thing where they're like, yeah, you can merge, we don't care, but like you gotta like pretend to open a plant somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Foxconn, go open that factory in the US.
Yeah, you don't need to actually make anything there. You don't really need to do anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be successful in any appreciable way. Just open the place, hire some like maintenance crews to come in and keep it clean and dust free, and after that we don't care.
Yeah, they make a gaming studio in London, and someone walks up to it and just like lightly pushes on it, and the building falls over, indicating it's just cardboard cut out.
The Looney Tunes strategy.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all this is completely crazy to me, and the arguments that like some of these like games or game series desperately need someone else to go over them. It's like, well, play a different game. Like I don't like, because this has already happened a lot of times where a company has just ruined a game series and someone else, often a lot of the people who worked on the thing people liked, go in and remake it. Like this happened with SimCity, most notably, right? EA ruined SimCity. The last SimCity was really bad, And then the developers for well, not this wasn't I don't know if it was necessarily any of the developers, but we got like City Skylines out of it, which is like that's like the benchmark now for this. This replaced SimCity. And same thing with Roller Coaster Tycoon. Uh, Atari is like not really doing that anymore. They're not trying. So the developers from Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 made Planet Coaster, which is excellent. Like this is already a thing that's happened in many like game segments. And like I forget what it's called, but there's a lot of people excited over a game that's being developed that's like basically The Sims but better, but it's the same thing where it's like The Sims has declined over time to the point where a lot of people who really liked it don't like it anymore. So then that introduces again, like, you know, if capitalism is supposed to work in theory, then people will go to the better product. Someone's making the better product elsewhere.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not like we haven't seen big major franchises and whole companies fail or disappear. I mean, Sega used to be one of the big contenders, and it crashed. I mean, and they weren't just a contender in like one space. They were making like full-scale arcades. They made a like regular game console. They made a handheld game console. They actually got into that weird like laser disc style thing for a hot minute, which everybody failed on that. Yeah, and you know, now it is a weird zombie thing that has been resurrected for its old IP and name to make some games. Look, you know, Sega has failed and been resurrected in name only, really. But you can look to Atari. Atari was another one that existed and failed. And okay, granted, ancient, but there are so many others, and there will continue to be more. Frankly, if Activision Blizzard can't continue to be successful because they're pissing off a player base, so be it. Let someone else take over. Yeah. I'm not seeing a reason that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, we've already seen that happen with a lot of the stuff they own. Like, you know, EA made Apex Legends, which is it's very inspired by Overwatch, but it's more, it's like more of a like esports competitive thing, which also sort of crosses over with Call of Duty, but kind of in a weird way. And you know, sometimes like it even works out for the companies who ruined the thing in the first place, where like I forget exactly what they made before. I think it might have been a port of something, but like Sega's 3D Sonic games, most of them are not all that good, and they had an issue where they weren't really going back to the 2D ones. But then there was a studio that made, again, I don't know if it was like more levels or a mod or something, but they hired that studio to make Sonic. It wasn't Sonic Colors. It was whatever the new 2D Sonic game is. Sonic Mania, I think. And that was really successful. And it was made by people who like really liked what the company did 20 years ago and decided to like do a new take on that. So like this can benefit like everyone involved. You just have to like just don't, you know, we don't have to let the big companies merge for this kind of thing to happen.
Yeah. There is just literally nothing stopping Activision from making a better game and possibly becoming more profitable in the process.
Yeah,
though,
like
to be
like
fair,
this is
may have already hit like their pinnacle point with that one. This franchise, it's hard for me to imagine this franchise gaining new players at this point. Like, if you are not a Call of Duty player, you're probably not going to become one, unless you're like growing into the age group or something like that. So at this point, Activision's only real way to make more money on the franchise is to find ways to soak more money out of people, which is, I'm sure, what Kirby was commenting on before. And And
Well, they sort of did with like that they were branching out into like Call of Duty Mobile,
right.
which is like that's a different market. Which again, like they don't need Microsoft's help to make a mobile game. Like they seem to be doing an okay job of it on their own.
Did they? I thought people didn't like the mobile game. I haven't played it. I don't know.
I think it's fine, but it is a a mobile shooter thing. But yeah, again, like there's no reason for any of this. Just I don't let the big companies merge. It you know I don't think Fox has really gotten any better under Disney.
Oh
Like,
God, no.
granted, yeah, like it just kind of turned into Disney. It kind of just turned into like additional revenue streams, really, where like they've leaned harder into like treating like Disney Plus and Hulu as like bundle things that you have to pay more separately because Fox had a stake in Hulu, but they still don't fully own Hulu because Comcast still has some of it.
For a little longer.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they haven't like agreed if they're gonna sell that stake or keep it, but yeah.
But it's looking like they're probably gonna unload it.
Yeah. So it's like I really don't like the way this is going, especially. I mean, Disney's such a perfect example because they just act in the most horrendous way possible with most stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, make the copyright expiration date like 1,000 years. That's fine. Force out like every single other movie from every movie theater when you have a new Marvel movie coming out. Like, just it seems especially evil.
Yeah, and whether or not it's necessarily fair to attribute everything, let's say Disney does, to what Microsoft could do, the practical reality is Microsoft as a company has a long history of doing that kind of thing. I mean, they once they have any kind of monopoly or even the ability to just sort of hold something over another. Over a market's head or a given industry, they do, and they will find various ways to kind of abuse it. Sure, they may follow through with their agreement to keep sending Call of Duty games to the PlayStation for however long they've agreed to do it, or a certain number of games. They can follow through on that, but it could be all of like 2 or 3 years, and they might launch a new Call of Duty game that is not technically part of the franchise. But if you're not playing both, for example, then all of a sudden you're screwed. And that new thing, yeah, it's only there for Xbox or for their cloud gaming service or something like that. Or they may add features that are just exclusive to their own thing. That would not even be that out of the question. It's kind of a normal thing for companies to do, is to really focus on their own platform, even if they do send something out to somewhere else. So
yeah, like I mean, I think like Hoopy brought up in the Discord, like Microsoft bought Bethesda. Sorry, other B company. They bought ZeniMax Bethesda. ZeniMax being the like parent org for all these other subsidiaries. And while that was happening, like obviously the main concern was like, am I gonna get the next Skyrim whatever on my PlayStation? Like, what's going on there? And like they kept saying like, yeah, we're still gonna like release games everywhere. And they pointed to Minecraft as an example, which is on literally everything with a battery. Because the market for that is completely different. And that was already on a lot of things by the time Microsoft got their hands on it. So, and with Bethesda, like a lot of the stuff they're putting out is only on Microsoft's platforms, either Xbox or PC. So, like, if I was Microsoft, honestly, I think I would have kept it up on other platforms if I wanted to buy Activision. Like, I think it's a lot harder to go to the FTC or whatever and say, yeah, we're going to support Call of Duty. Don't look at this other game studio we just bought.
Yeah.
Where, like, especially with Starfield, which is coming out from Bethesda, supposedly later this year. It's been delayed several times, so who knows? But there was a report that came out recently that well, I don't know if it was Starfield or if it was Redfall, which is a game coming out from Arcane, which is under Bethesda. But one of those games, there was a PlayStation build at some point, but it was axed because, like, Microsoft just didn't want to do that. So,
yeah, it's the look at what, or listen to what we say, don't look at what we do.
Right.
And
right, like, we're coming up on, Starfield's about to come out. That's like Bethesda's, their mainline games have been on, like, most platforms, like going back to, like, I think it was Morrowind when they finally started, like, releasing games on consoles. Like, it's been on all the main consoles and PC when the games come out, and now they're about to release a game that isn't on PlayStation. Like, that doesn't bode well for, like, anything else they want to do. And I'm not saying that's, like, a shock, like, that's what you'd expect them to do.
Well, that's what they bought it for.
Right. Yeah, like, Microsoft's not going to spend...
For.
Yeah, like, Microsoft's not going to spend $68 billion on Activision and then make 0 exclusives. So,
I mean, they could. Honestly, like, if the game is going to make money on all platforms, they absolutely have an incentive to just release to all platforms. They will make more money. But, for that specific project. But in the
that's what they've
scheme, they want to control a market. They want their console to be the winning console. So it makes sense. I mean, for years, one of the common narratives is any game that someone wants to play, with the possible exception of the Halo franchise and Gears of War, I guess, a lot of people basically said the only exclusives they were interested in were exclusives from PlayStation. Otherwise, every game they wanted to play was available on everything. That hurt Microsoft's bottom line. That hurt their ability to control a market. And Sony gained control of a market thanks to this. And it led to an entire generation of basically Sony kind of winning by default. And I apologize, I forget who said it explicitly, but that's the thing. Microsoft basically lost a whole generation because of this. And now they don't want to make that mistake again. So they're trying to win in every conceivable way, which includes Game Pass, which is likely, if not... It's confirmed it's a loss leader. I don't remember.
I think it made money last quarter.
Okay.
But, like, I don't really know how you'd, like, price that out, because, like that kind of feeds back into, like, their entire business, where it's like, do you weigh, like, the operating costs of every studio you own against, like, income from Game Pass and game sales? I don't really know how that balance sheet goes, but I think, like, at least the service components of it make money. I don't know how they factor in, because also there are games on there that they don't own that they, like, pay for.
Yeah, so there's got to be some licensing costs in there that are probably not cheap.
Yeah.
But how it balances out is hard to... Well, we certainly don't know it. Whether or not they know is also in question. But at the end of the day, Microsoft is doing this so that it can have exclusives. It may not turn everything into an exclusive. Obviously, it could just keep Call of Duty going indefinitely as a universal thing. They can just keep making money on that. That is an option for them. Meanwhile, every other thing could become an exclusive. If that's a good or a bad thing, that's debatable. Because, hey, nobody is out there yelling and screaming, oh my god, Sony needs to stop making exclusives. How dare they release The Last of Us only for PlayStation. How dare they keep damn it, Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, how dare they keep that just to themselves? Obviously, there is a very, very good argument to be made for every company is allowed to have their exclusives. But the counterpoint, clearly at a certain point, it will become worse for the gaming industry. Even if it gets better for a few years, this has a direct and obvious path forward where it will become worse. And it's because the companies have an incentive to make exclusives, because they have an incentive to make their console the winner. I used to believe the consoles were done, and now I think we're going to see at least 2 more generations of consoles just kind of forced down people's throats.
Oh, I don't think consoles are ever going away, especially now that they're just PCs.
Yeah, I think there will come a time. But it's not going to be for a long time. It may not even be during my lifetime.
Yeah.
Maybe yours.
Well, during my lifetime, all technology will die because the Earth will end. But there's that. But yeah, no, they're going to be strategic about it if it goes through. Like, again, like it benefits Minecraft to be on every single device, because like that's a huge like multiplayer thing. So if you can get that on literally everything and like make people like sign up for Realm servers and stuff, like that's perfect.
The same argument could be made for Call of Duty. Yeah. Again, big multiplayer thing, it benefits to be on everything. But everyone seems to think Call of Duty is something that eventually will go exclusive. Well, I say everyone. Obviously, there's a large group of people that don't believe that, but
yeah. Or some of them are exclusive and some of them aren't. Like, so that they could do.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think with Minecraft, it's different because it already has such a history of being everywhere. And most of Minecraft, with the exception of Legends, is it called? What?
That's the one that just came
out. Or
Realms.
Yeah. Or whatever. I don't care.
Realm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the newer things could be exclusive, but they're not, because so many people already interpret Minecraft as just an available everywhere franchise. That is not as much of an assumption with Call of Duty. And to be fair, maybe Microsoft is also just looking at it as, who cares? Let's just make it available to everything for Minecraft specifically. We'll see. I just do not. I think in 10 years we'll look back on this, and I think a lot of Call of Duty players will also look back on this if this goes through, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, no, now we get it," or now we see where this went badly, and we'd like someone else to own it, or more likely they will have just said, "Oh well, it was good for a few years, then it went bad, so we moved on to something new." Truthfully, I think that's what'll actually end up happening, is a lot of people will just move on. The damage will have been done. A lot of people won't care. They'll just have picked up whatever new thing replaces it.
Yeah, and again, like if Microsoft buys Activision, like what's left? Right, like we've got like EA.
The worst of the worst.
That's EA. We've got Sony and whatever it can scrap together under its belt.
I mean, not exactly a small thing there.
No, but like kind of similar, and I don't know. Like again, it consolidates this industry even further. And there's also the point that like Sony doesn't really need to get any bigger, and Microsoft does not need it. Microsoft is insane.
Yeah, these are two giant companies.
Yeah, like Microsoft, like they're in the same boat as like Amazon and Disney, where they're just so diversified and they can fund any new segment with money from other places. Like honestly, like forget like buying Activision. Like Microsoft probably needs to be like 5 or 6 companies. like it's kind of crazy. But that's not going to happen. So
No. And
we can just stop it from getting worse.
I would also, out of your list, just to throw it in there, like the next most significant company in the list is Nintendo, and the range of available companies that are of size where they can still be competitive in this space. And when I say competitive, I'm not saying that small companies can't make games and can't make games that make profit. I'm talking about games that can market heavily, that can run multiplayer servers to cover literally I don't know how many people play Modern Warfare. Let's I'm just gonna say 1 million players. I don't know.
Sure.
5 million, 10 million, whatever the number is. You have to be a pretty big, profitable company in order to run the servers to handle that many players. And realistically, that number has gotten really tiny. It shouldn't be. It's honestly not that unreasonable that there should be companies out there. Probably a good 30 companies out there should be in the position to be able to run those kinds of operations and be able to market their games and be successful. But we don't have that because the consolidation has already been happening. I mean, look, 2 of the companies that used to be those companies were Activision and Blizzard.
Yeah.
And then there was just Activision Blizzard. And all of a sudden, there went a lot. And Blizzard was famously one of the companies that was pushing other companies out of the market. Activision wasn't exactly free of that issue too, but yeah.
And like I still don't think like Microsoft should have been allowed to buy Bethesda. Bethesda's huge. They had a ton. They had, I mean, well, ZeniMax technically. ZeniMax had Bethesda Game Studios. They had other game studios that either already had or now have like Bethesda branding. Like Bethesda Austin is a completely different studio. They had id Software. Like that alone, it could be like its own. Like that's a pretty big gaming entity in itself. Just a lot of stuff.
ZeniMax. I just looked at the list of subsidiaries. Includes just some of the bigger names: Arcane, Bethesda, id Software. I think Machine Games was reasonably large. Alpha Dog Games. I don't remember if that was a bigger one, but I want to say
Machine Games has been the one pumping out all the Wolfenstein games.
And that's what I thought. Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, these are by themselves some pretty big companies to have under the belt. And yeah, Microsoft basically swallowed up that entirety.
Yeah.
And to some extent, maybe ZeniMax shouldn't have even had all of them.
Yeah. Kirby said Redfall was the game that was in development for PS5 at one point.
Right.
Which again, like that also ties into how like Microsoft isn't perfect either with gaming stuff, because they've put out a lot of games recently that are kind of technically have issues at launch, and Redfall is going to be one of them because they confirmed that it's going to have only a 30 FPS mode on Xbox when it launches, which is kind of crazy for like a action shooter game. Like, I don't know what happened there really, but there's been a couple other things like that recently where it's kind of been like a head scratcher at Microsoft. What's going on?
My hunch.
Kirby's 60 FPS on console. The PC one will just be whatever settings you set, but the console version is supposed to have like a lot of games now like have like a 30 frame per second like looks really good mode, and then a 60 FPS looks fine mode, but for some reason it only has one of those at launch.
Right. So my hunch is the reason I think we're hearing a lot about that now is all these game studios are developing games for like the pro or elite models or whatever that are going to be coming out in like a year to two, well, probably 2 years, I guess. Because that's, that's the strategy. We always be building for the next thing and releasing something subpar for the current thing. That way people are more incentivized to go pick up the new thing when it comes out. Because let's be honest, a lot of the console makers, all three of them, two of the three of them are in a position where they launch their new consoles and a whole bunch of people keep saying, yeah, but we don't really need that. We don't really want that one. Or we'll wait for a game that comes out that actually needs it. I certainly said that about the PS5, and I still say it. But yeah, I think that's there's so much collaboration going on where it's kind of pushing games to develop worse versions for players, and in turn it's also sort of forcing the console makers to also be worse.
Yeah. So in conclusion, capitalism bad.
Yes, capitalism has failed us yet again.
Yep. I'm really hope Starfield is playable when it comes out. I'm gonna just be in a terrible mood. I think Starfield, Starfield, I'm like fully planning, like if it comes out on like when it's supposed to, I am taking off work that day, maybe the day after. I don't know. Depends on how many vacation days I have stacked up. It's like I'm gonna enjoy this one game.
I know nothing about it.
I mean, I don't know much about it either, except that it's a Bethesda game that's in space and it has building. So it's like, all right, I'm sold. You have me.
Okay, so Fallout, but with a different skin. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's their next like open world thing after the Fallouts and the Skyrims. So yeah, but supposedly, bigger, more stuff. So,
Austin asked, "What is vacation?"
Good question.
It's a European word, I believe.
Yeah.
We don't use that here. In the US, we spell it as a 4-letter word. It's called work.
Yeah. Here it's an analogy for being too ill to get up.
Vacation is what they make you take when you catch COVID. Oh, it's not funny.
It's really not.
Oh God.
It's what I think about it every time I see like Paris in ruins for like the 5th time in 3 months, because they're just raising the retirement age slightly, which I'm not saying that to minimize it. I just think it's really fascinating in comparison to here, where it's just like we just get everything like stripped away completely.
Yeah, I was
and we're just
say,
like,
we don't even get healthcare.
Yeah.
Like, screw having to work an extra year or two.
Yeah.
It's just like flat out, oh wait, you wanted to retire someday?
Yeah.
Oh wait, you wanted to not die of a completely preventable or easily curable disease? You want to be able to walk still? You silly human. These aren't things for you.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I wish that was.
Yeah, well, maybe if we yelled and screamed a little bit more about the things that mattered, we might still have those things.
Right.
Oh,
and,
so, not to... I do not intend at all to send you away. I'd rather you stayed, but do you need to go pick up that order?
Yeah, it's 8:30, closes at 10, so...
Oh, hey, I can hold you for a whole another 60 minutes.
No, that's not what that means.
Moving on. Stack Overflow.
Yeah. No. Also, I can't feel my butt anymore. I haven't moved, so I need to get up anyway. So
Yeah, I wish I could say I didn't know that feeling, but I know that feeling exactly right now. Though, to be fair, I also can't feel your butt, but that's for the best.
Yeah, be concerned. How'd you get here, Cody?
North Carolina is at least closer than Georgia. To me. Barely.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Probably.
I mean, mathematically, the line just kind of shifts a little bit. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Anyway. No, I actually just went to your apartment so I could steal your chair.
That's fine.
Oh, it is? Oh, dude, seriously. I need a new chair like so bad.
I need a new chair first. This one, it's a gaming chair on its last legs. Haha. But
gaming, dude, don't buy gaming chairs. Seriously.
Corbin from 4 years ago did not know better. That's his fault.
Corbin from 4 years ago should have listened to Cody from 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would have yelled at you, don't buy gaming chairs.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, dude, thanks for coming by. Do you want to plug anything?
No. I guess I'm trying Facebook, unfortunately. So
that's what you plug.
I guess. I mean,
Boomer.
I've said Tech Tales enough times. If they're not listening to it, I just hate them now. So I'll put my Facebook, I guess, in the chat. I don't know. I've been trying to find something that isn't Twitter that, like, doesn't make me compress photos and video before I upload them and that kind of stuff.
Oh, before you upload them. I was gonna say, wait,
yeah.
And you picked Facebook? But no, they compress it incredibly once you upload them.
Yeah, some centralized dumping ground that I can use occasionally, and Facebook is the one that, like, some of the companies still use for, like, news. Yeah. Are you okay, Corbin? No,
the old people have taken him hostage.
I know it's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, like, I really, Twitter's so bad now. And it's like, if I want to, like, my options for other mainstream platforms to, like, listen to people who are terminally online like me, it's either TikTok, which no, Instagram, which I already know I don't like, or, like, Facebook. Like, this is the trifecta of evil I'm left with Twitter collapsing.
Corbin on a Monday. Billionaires are bad and evil. Corbin on Tuesday. Hold on, Mark Zuckerberg wants his $200.
I think he has a point there. Yeah. Actually, the metaverse is cool. I don't think that. I don't.
God. If you do, dude, if you do, just telling you now, you might be a guest a lot less frequently.
I mean, we'll
bring you on to mock you.
Yeah, again, I've said many times before, if literally anyone else made the Oculus headsets, I'd have one. But,
well, no, don't say if anyone else, because Elon Musk.
Oh yeah. your headset shows up and it's just, like, completely bent out of shape for your head.
I'm just thinking it'll show up and, like, the first thing that comes on is you have to pay, like, 3 Dogecoin just to activate it. Yeah. Oh jeez. But yeah. Okay, so
or
if
there's only one game and it's, like, running over children simulator.
Oh my god. Well, Exploding Rocket Simulator.
Yeah, that's the other game you get. Yeah, you get Running Over Pedestrian Simulator and Kerbal Space Program. Those are your 2 games.
Oh, don't say that. All the KSP fans are going to be like, but no, that's actually
I know.
a good game.
I mean, I did like that game a lot when it was new.
I've heard great things about it. I've never played it. Yeah. I can't comment one way or the other.
I got as far as landing on the moon. Didn't get back from the moon. Didn't get to anywhere else, but I got that far. That was pretty fun.
You later learn it's not a game, and you've been controlling Teslas on autopilot.
Yeah, you're training the Tesla AI.
No, you're not training. You're literally the one operating it. That what they're secretly doing is putting you in control of one of the cars as it drives.
Yeah, I could see that. That feels like something Elon would do.
It actually does. And you earn Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Oh.
and the only like gamer tags you can get are just completely nonsensical, like Elon's child names. Like those are, you can't have a normal name on your headset gaming thing. It has to be some weird combination of numbers and random symbols.
Corbin, you're just describing a license plate. Which kind of fits our theory that you're just autopilot replacement.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Oh, he would do that.
God.
Yeah.
There's such a terrifying level to which I feel like this is actually a thing that'll happen.
Yeah, there'll be a report on like I don't know, Washington Post in like a year. That's like, oh, actually, this is how the Tesla autopilot works. That'll happen.
Yeah,
I think
we're charging people $200 a year to have a game where they're actually secretly the autopilots for your Tesla.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you fall asleep while you're controlling it, you are held liable. You'll be responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear God, I hate how much this actually sounds like a thing that would happen.
Yeah, he'd do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so really quick, I will pitch Tech Tales for you on the basis that we're near finished with the Internet Explorer series. So, if you're like me, where you like to wait until TV shows have fully aired the full season before you watch them, hey, almost time for that. Get ready. We'll let you know when the final episode is about to be recorded or released, and you can start listening then.
And I'll put the link in the description. It is techtalesshow.com, and that has all the link. It's on all the podcast things, including ones that just steal iTunes' directory, and I don't know about. So, like I found out that Samsung has a podcast platform, so
okay.
I submitted it to there, so I'm waiting for everyone with a Galaxy phone to listen to Tech Tales.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you want to bet it's just like something that feeds Bixby?
I mean, I think that's part of what it hooks into, and it was also in the Samsung free app that is now Samsung News. That's the other one. Again, I don't know who's using that, but maybe someone.
It could be someone. Possibly.
Yep. I look forward to the Internet Explorer series being over, not because I'm not happy with it, but because there's other things I can talk about that are not Internet Explorer necessarily.
Yeah.
And finally get to those movie club episodes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
it'll happen. It'll happen. I will finally. Maybe the stars will align, and the 50th episode will be my 5-hour Tron Legacy movie club episode.
With like 8 special guests, all of which have like 30 to 60 seconds of talk time.
All talking at once, all different volumes.
Oh, I can so see it happen.
It's just like the Android Police podcast. I don't know what you don't want.
I know what you're referring to. Anyway,
referring to me recording the Google Meet call and then uploading it with no editing whatsoever.
You wouldn't be the first person to do that, but okay.
Nope. That's how it was intended.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going now.
All right, take it easy, man. Okay, so now that we've batted around the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition for probably too long, but I think also collectively, everyone is now in agreement, unequivocally, that it is obviously a bad thing and it should not be allowed to go through. Nobody would disagree with that now, right? Anyway, so kidding, of course. Austin, that's what they want you to think. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, is it even technically one of the people does not even work for Android Police anymore? Something like that. Yeah, anyway, so moving on to another thing that is at least sort of tangentially related to Microsoft, kind of in its own weird way. Needs more Cody. It has no Cody. I have not been invited to be on. Though technically, I think I was given one of those. Here's one of those little inside baseball moments. I think I was technically it was suggested that I could be on if I was willing to play ball with certain other things. Certain other things I won't specify, but yeah, if I was willing to jump through certain hoops, I could have been on the podcast as it stands today. The way it was brought up was very creepy. So, I won't go into more specifics than that. Not right now for sure, but yeah, someday. And yes, Curvy, I couldn't agree more. And I have some stories I'd like to tell about that sometime too, but not here. But a story I will tell here is one of AI. We've heard this story already. Apparently Reddit, and yes, I know what's on screen. I'm starting with what came first. Reddit has been threatening to basically charge or sue companies that are training their AI models on Reddit's content. Now, the comment that I made when this was first brought up is, lol, what? Who out there wants to train a autocorrect system, a so-called large language model system, on the way people on Reddit write? This clearly is not a thing. Nobody would actually willingly train their LLM on the way people on Reddit write. I'm pretty confident that is just a bad idea. Because grammatically, disastrous. Contextually, disastrous. Basically, like almost everything that gets written on Reddit is kind of terrible. There are exceptions, but not enough. Well, now a company that actually has a valid point has popped up and made their case. Or, well, at least suggested their case. And that is Stack Overflow. Now, don't get me wrong. Grammar on Stack Overflow is also kind of a effing mess. But at least people can correct other people's responses or edit them. So technically, some people do go through and actually fix the occasional grammar mistakes. But there's also the fact that a lot of these large language model chatbots have been learning, quote unquote, learning to code. And in that context, oh yeah, they are using Stack Overflow. Now don't get me wrong, Stack Overflow is a place where a lot of bad coding goes, but it happens to also be the most plentiful place for them to train on. So yeah, it's a pretty safe bet. People have been training their AI chatbots on Stack Overflow's content, and therefore, well, yeah, that is the thing. Now, it's worth noting the original story here apparently was posted on Wired, but I'm not a subscriber, so thus the warning at the bottom and the fact that this only shows like barely anything. Anyway, David puts on old man hat. Everything's got a shit. I mean, that was happening with or without the old man hat. Anyway, which, funny enough, I was debating if I'd bring it up, but there's a rant I'm gonna throw in just a second that I think just needs to be said, but I'll get to that momentarily. Nevertheless, I question what the licensing model here looks like, because Stack Overflow is obviously a place where people want to train their AI chatbots on. Of course it is, because again, it's where a whole lot of developers have gone, posted various types of code, and it's... I mean, I can't count how many times I've said that that a lot of the code generated by AI chatbots, when it's useful code, it is almost always something that you could just go to Reddit. If you know how to search for it, you can go to Reddit and probably copy paste something, change a few variable names, and you very likely have something that just works. It's very likely almost identical to what an AI chatbot would give you. So, you know, it makes sense. Like I said, I've been making this reference. So, needless to say, chances are this is going to continue to be a thing. Everyone's going to keep wanting to use Stack Overflow, and that's not going to change. And I don't think Stack Overflow's really got a good way to stop them from doing it, but they can prove that they're doing it, and that's the issue. So I think I don't know what's in Stack Overflow's terms and conditions. I have a feeling it probably says something to the effect of you're not allowed to take our content and present it as your own. And ironically, their content is, of course, stuff posted by other people, which gets into that whole discussion. Maybe Stack Overflow needs to start sharing something with their contributors. That could be argued. Nevertheless, we do have this opening situation where AI chatbots probably need to start putting something back into the places that they're training off of. The same could be said for the image generating ones. Obviously, like you've got Midjourney. The other one that I always forget the name. I don't know why I forget the name of it. You've got Leonardo. The list goes on and on. These are training off of someplace, and they probably need to start paying for that. Adobe was given a lot of credit for the fact that they were only using things in their own stock photography or stock photography service. I shouldn't say website. And that has been something that DALL-E, yes, exactly. All of these things are using stuff other people have, and it kind of makes sense. There needs to be a certain point where everyone can collectively agree that stuff may be out there for people to go to and look at, but it usually comes with ads. It usually comes with some sort of monetization strategy. And the AI chatbots are just wholesale grab it, usually without ever even triggering the ads, and reintegrate it, and then use it to bring people into their service. By the way, this is one of the criticisms I happen to have also of Reddit, where Reddit's entire purpose was literally to take views away from other websites. And it has been very effective at that, because holy crap, a lot of websites failed after Reddit came along. And the ones that didn't fail, by and large, have had to become much worse in the wake of Reddit. But anyway, moving on from that. Let's see. What was the... Oh damn! What was the thing I was just thinking I was going to complain about? My brain went off a different direction, and that was a mistake. Oh no, I remember. Okay, so the everything going to crap aspect of this. There has been all this talk about a petition that apparently Elon Musk signed, because that's the only name anybody can think of to highlight. But this so-called 6-month pause on AI. A lot of people keep saying apparently that there needs to be a 6-month pause, and if we just get everyone to slow down for a little bit, then it'll give us time to balance things out and correct some of the problems with AI, because AI is dangerous. I don't know who came up with this idea, but they're stupid. They're really stupid. And the people who are promoting it are either naive, which is valid. If you don't know how things work, that's okay. You don't know how things work. Or they too are stupid. Because, let's be honest, it is a human right to be stupid. People have that freedom, and holy crap, do plenty of them make extensive use of it. Anyway. Just noticed. Okay, sorry, I just noticed something in my screen which looks kind of funny. This reflective... Oops, here. This is a flat chrome surface, and for whatever reason it is Oh, it's because of that web page. If I change to that, yeah, it goes away. Oh, that's fun. Technically, you can see a very tiny portion of my screen by looking at that reflective surface. Anyway, Austin, no, I am not. I wish I could, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. Let's see. Oh, yeah, anyway, so this pause on AI. The problem is, let's say hypothetically everyone, quote, everyone agrees to a pause on AI. So for 6 months, also, by the way, you know what, actually, what is this 6-month pause on AI? Let's see if we can't find what do they say? The letter warns that AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risk to society and humanity, from flooding the internet with disinformation and automating away jobs to more catastrophic future risks out of the realms of science fiction. It says, recent months have seen AI labs locked in an out-of-control race to develop and deploy even more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control. Quote, we call on all AI labs to immediately pause for at least 6 months the training of AI systems more powerful than GPT-4. This pause should be public and verifiable and include all key actors. If such a pause cannot be enacted quickly, governments should step in and institute a moratorium. A number of governments are already working to regulate high-risk AI tools. The UK released a paper Wednesday outlining its approach, which it said will avoid heavy-handed legislation which could stifle innovation. Blah, 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 blah. And this is a letter, sorry, I call it a petition. Oh, wait. The petition. Okay, I thought it was previously a letter, but okay. So, they're arguing to basically stop training these systems, and one would assume stop releasing anything new. Here's what's stupid about this, and why anyone who is proposing this is kind of stupid. It's not going to do any good. It doesn't change anything. It literally changes absolutely nothing. Because, first off, who's involved in this? It's a bunch of people who aren't involved in the development of these systems who are asking for AI systems to take a pause. Okay, so that's already not helping. Second, who is affected by this? Well, the affected parties are a bunch of parties who all stand to make a lot of money developing these systems, and they don't want to stop making money. They don't want to see their progress slip. They don't want to fall behind their competitors, and we'll be getting to that in a second. So, and what's going to happen to the people who work at these places? Are they supposed to stop working for 6 months or more? That probably means they stop getting paid. So I don't see that happening. I don't see anyone agreeing to this. And okay, so that's talking about quote-unquote AI labs. But what about everyone else? The people who aren't being asked to do this, who will see this as an opportunity to jump into this game. Well, they can just start doing this on their own. And they won't follow this agreement because they're going to see it as an opportunity to get a 6-month chance to leapfrog everybody else. So who do these people think this is going to affect? It's not going to do any good. And I'm sorry, I just think it is a stupid, ignorant, naive, clueless strategy to pretend anyone's going to actually follow along. So yeah, that's my hypercritical, I think they are all stupid for coming up with this strategy kind of take on this. Basically, people gonna be people, and there's money to be made. So people are not gonna stop developing. They're not going to stop working. Will they quote unquote stop training? Maybe, but who cares? Training is not the thing that's taking a lot of time. It's enhancing the algorithms to be able to do more with what they're trained to do. So yeah, this doesn't change anything. So yeah, sorry, but Elon and everyone else, this is not a solution. You're literally just saying, hey everyone, please, actually sorry, fingers in front of the chest. Doesn't really show up there. Ooh, please stop doing things that scare us. Yeah. If that wasn't offensive, I'm sorry. It was meant to be. David, I like the Wild West of AI right now. It's pretty fun. For the moment, yeah, it is. It is fun. I mean, just for example, I didn't share this. I was going to, and I kind of forgot. Did everyone see the cement challenge or cement eating challenge that was an AI thing? Yeah, here we go. I mean, who doesn't enjoy looking at celebrities chowing down on cement? I mean, that just, or sand or whatever, that just seems like a perfectly wholesome, healthy thing. And I mean, come on, it just looks natural. It looks so real. Okay, in some of these cases it kind of does, but let's be honest, Ariana Grande does not eat anything at all. So John Cena, I actually think this is true. I'm pretty sure this is where the idea came from. This was the one real picture in the group. Anyway, let's see. Awesome, canceled. David, imagine an AI trained off of Twitter data. See, Elon Musk claimed that. He was the other. When I made fun of this, I think last week, maybe it was a week before, it was Elon screaming and yelling that he needs to be billing all these companies. And again, no, you don't train a language model off of Twitter. Imagine training off a model that looks worse than people when they're texting. But anyway, text speak is terrible. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry, but overall, this stuff is funny, and right now it is funny. It remains pretty amusing. I have a prediction. I think the 2024 election, there's going to be no less than half a dozen fake sex tapes. That is my genuine prediction. I think, and not necessarily in the presidential election, I think this is stuff that's going to be popping out in smaller races. Senate races, maybe, governor, mayors, anything that is a big enough race that it matters, but may not matter at a ridiculous level. I think that's going to just become a standard part of politics until something is done to prevent it or reduce it. I think we have to expect that terrible crap is going to become really commonplace. And people want to believe a lot of it. So it will just inherently become assumed. I think back to some of the easier examples that aren't even AI related. Somebody took, or just as an example, someone took that video of Nancy Pelosi speaking once, and they slowed it down by something like 10 or 15%. Not enough that it could be perceived as being slowed down. I think they did it by whatever multiple made sense, so there was no frame, or there was frame doubling, but it didn't seem like there was, and they probably used like optical flow or something to make it work. By the way, when I say no frame doubling, I mean they probably took something like, it was probably recorded in like 30 frames per second, and they slowed it down to 24 frames per second. If you literally just change the frame rate of the video to 24 frames per second, there will be no frame doubling. But it made her sound drunk. To anyone listening to it, they thought she was drunk. And every person that hated her just wanted to believe this so much that they did. And you can still find a lot of people who truly believe that happened. So, yeah, people want to believe stuff even if they know it's a lie. We're going to see AI getting used extensively. It is going to get ugly. We're going to see so much of this just blowing up. And I don't see a good way around that. So yeah, everything is kind of going to shit. I'm sure we will see legislation. We're going to see more like basically like anti-defamation, anti-slander, and libel. We're gonna see a lot of things pick up that will probably protect people on the political realm. I think it's gonna be a while before we see some of the other things really being addressed. To some extent, I think we're gonna start seeing AI being used in a lot of confidence scams, so-called con men. Confidence scams are already a big part of the scam structure going on. We're going to see a lot more of it. Imagine if... Okay, this isn't a good example for reasons that I'll admit in a second, or acknowledge in a second, but I would not be surprised for a second if we start seeing, like, people thinking a thing is real because of a celebrity endorsement. And not necessarily just a celebrity endorsement, but imagine watching a video. Let's say someone's trying to sell you on getting involved in a business or investing in something, and they show you a video of, I don't know, let's say William Shatner. Maybe not the best example, but we'll just go with him because first name that popped into my head. Let's say you see him saying, oh no, I've checked this out. This is actually pretty interesting, blah, blah, blah. Like, everything looks real. It seems completely valid, legitimate. If you're not a relatively tech savvy person, you're going to look at that and go, oh, well, Captain Kirk says it's good. maybe it's good. And if they can keep it going just long enough, a fool and their money are parted very quickly. That's going to become normal. I mean, it's already becoming normal. It's already happening. We have deepfakes that are pretty good. Give it a few more years, and we're gonna see this stuff exploding. So, yeah, there's only so much that's going to be done about it. And obviously, there's the other version of this, which is sort of the copyright and trademark infringements, and various versions of these. You know, there was was it Drake and The Weeknd supposedly, well, not supposedly, but there was a fake collaboration between those two, completely generated through audio AI. And that, again, completely fake, but it's something that companies will try to be doing. And people will be trying to do. And we're going to see this in a lot of different markets and in a lot of different forms. You know, it's been brought up that there was a company doing, or a website. I guess a company. But there was this website that was peddling in deepfake porn. And it was very focused on various celebrities, a lot of streamers. This was a pretty big story just like 3 months ago. And give it a little bit of time, and I think that'll just become such a common thing that there will be no taking it down at that point. So yeah, we are approaching that. We are approaching a point where AI and various generative services are too powerful. And yeah, we're going to need legislation for it. We're going to need a lot of things to handle this better. Unfortunately, I also don't think I think the efforts to improve various AI tools are getting all the attention, and efforts to find ways to limit their range not getting any attention at all. Or, well, they're getting attention, but not nearly enough. And it's a classic issue with all bad actors. They will always be able to move faster than anyone who's playing whack-a-mole with them. Anyway, so enough of that. Though, kind of, I guess, on a bit of a related tangent, one of our favorite AI... wait, do I want to hit which of these do I hit first? Yeah, I'll hit this one. One of our favorite companies making an AI chatbot, Google, has an article just came out calling out Google for removing, well, the article headline is that they removed the dried mangoes from the office, but the article itself is, by the way, paywalled, so, read at your risk. But it came out from The Atlantic, basically saying all of Google's perks are kind of vanishing. This is certain types of food that are basically take as you will from the office. This includes, obviously, a lot of other various perks. It certainly goes beyond just food. They have, taken away, somewhat famously, they took away some of the yoga classes that were being taught in the office, which actually I see that one as a little bit more of a shrug. They've taken away, apparently they've taken away some of the transportation services. They've shut down a lot of the traveling that was being done. Some of this obviously is attributable to the pandemic and changes in schedules. Some of these make sense just structurally. A lot of others don't. And obviously cost cutting is a big part of the narrative. Austin, exactly. Gotta pay Sundar's $200 million bonus. By the way, did anybody see that there was an article with pictures showing off his extremely lavish house? Yeah. Not a good time for that. Just gonna say. But here's the thing. I don't bring this up because I'm calling out like the end of perk, like Silicon Valley perks or anything like that. I'm calling this out because if there's any company that is going to take the biggest hit for this, it is Google. Google was famous for this. Google was famous for having all of the like the sleeper pods and chairs where you could just go out and chill out. They were famous for having all kinds of neat little things on the side for people to do. People could frankly show up to the office, not do an ounce of work for a whole day, and just basically party and have fun. That stuff's kind of gone. But more importantly, everybody knows it. And a lot of people that were attracted to this because it was, it was the fun company. It was the company that prided itself on just being super relaxed and kind of always worked like a startup and things like that. All that has now officially, it is officially gone. We learned years ago that the infamous 30% projects are kind of a lie now. They haven't really had 30% projects for people for a long time. Oh yeah, let's see. So Austin posted the part about, and this was from almost a week ago. The San Jose campus is on hold. So yeah, this was what they were building. It was basically a big we believe it'll happen. People were going to, I guess this was supposed to have apartment buildings in it and the whole 9 yards. Like Googlers were going to be able to just get a place here. Anyway, yeah, so they have halted development on it, right? Like full stop. They're just like everything that they were working on just kind of shut down. Is that correct? What was the opening? Let's see. They picked up big patches after raising small parts to the ground. Yeah, so yeah, it looks like they're basically just putting a big pause on this. Which, hey, may be the right choice. I'm, not disputing that. But what stands out to me about this, and the reason I bring it all up, is Google is, despite its many stumbles and mistakes over the years, we still look at it as one of the innovators. We still look at it as a company that does a lot of neat stuff and brings together a lot of pretty smart people. My question is, will they still? Perks are a thing that do matter. Not necessarily the dried mangoes, not necessarily the fun-sized M&Ms, which is apparently something that really mattered here, I guess. I don't even see them on the wall, but supposedly they're they're packs of fun-sized M&Ms here. But yeah, we've seen like this kind of stuff is a big part of their pitch to bring people in. How many people want to show up to this now? They're going through a Microsoft 2012 phase. Kind of, yeah. But as neat and fun as their whole narrative used to be, like that did draw in people. It wasn't necessarily always good. I think some people actually avoided going to work at Google because sometimes it looked too much like it was just a playground for college, like fresh out of college students and people who are just sort of wanting to goof around for their regular day-to-day work. But I think they brought in more people than they lost because of this. So the question becomes, will those people still want to come to work at Google? I think a lot of them were already turned off by the loss of the 30% projects. I think a lot of them were kind of turned off by how many projects at Google have started kind of becoming like break or bust, or sorry, make it or break it, you know, live or die sort of projects. There's obviously a lot of projects that kind of start and then just vanish someday. You could even look at some of the projects that sort of started and big names moved into, and then one day you heard those big names were working somewhere else. The example that immediately comes to my mind is RambleCast. He worked on the Android framework team for many, many years, and then he moved over to the robotics team. You don't hear much about Google and robotics anymore, do you? And RambleCast is back on the Android framework team. So, or at least he was last time I looked. I suppose he could have left since then, but I'm still listening to podcasts from a few years ago, and he's still on the team as of then. So, you know, we're starting to see that point where Google has become, exactly like Austin said, and this is pretty much what I was working towards. Google has become Microsoft. Big company, very diverse product set. They're doing a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, a whole lot of people don't see it as the place to innovate anymore. And yes, some of that just comes down to silly things like having basically candy in the office. But the candy is just another symptom. It's kind of become symbolic of all the things that Google kind of lost. And it's seemingly getting worse. And at this point, like, how long before it just becomes another thing that has lost all of its public interest? I think that's where this is going. And the reason I bring this up, and kind of my whole point, once you've lost those new people coming in, and once you've lost that sort of edge that was making people find it fun and interesting in a supposedly creative space, you're also going to see that reflected in the products. In some ways, that's actually probably a good thing. There will be some products that need to just go into maintenance mode. And by maintenance mode, I don't mean keep them alive and leave them untouched. I mean, it's time for them to just get better. Become more reliable, become more efficient, more optimized, whatever. That does need to happen to a lot of products. But we're also going to see less new things, less interesting things, fewer interesting things. Google is probably about to hit that point where we're just going to have less to say about them, because people aren't going to be as involved and more people are going to be looking for other places to go, which has also kind of been amplified by how many people are being laid off. When you start laying off in huge swaths, it usually also triggers a lot of other people who didn't get laid off to start cleaning up their resume and start looking other places, because they kind of wonder how long before they get hit too. These are all working together for the same general end result, which is pretty soon Google's going to have a harder time recruiting. And the people, like, they'll never have trouble finding people to hire. They're never going to have trouble getting 100 applications for a job. What they're going to have trouble getting is 100 applications that are all competitive. In fact, they're going to eventually, if this gets far enough, they're going to have trouble getting any applications that are suitable for a job. That's what they're kind of facing. And again, who cares about the candy? If you work there, you make enough money to buy your own damn candy. But all the perks are going away. All the things that make the place and like a fun, slightly different than normal place, they're all going away. And Google is in severe danger of kind of driving out a lot of its talent and not having as good of a method for picking up new talent. So, yeah, there's that. And now that I've said that, here's hoping that someone doesn't come looking at this video if a hiring opportunity comes along. But also, to some extent, I'm hoping that they see this, the criticism from The Atlantic, and obviously from other developers, that plenty of people who were laid off came out saying that they were sad to be laid off. They didn't want to be, but they were also not feeling that bad about it. There were quite a few of them that came out saying that they were even ready to move on because it wasn't the same company that they had gone to work for in the first place. That seems to be a common refrain. And even a lot of the people who wanted to stay there, they all said that they were hoping Google would return to the way that it used to be. And evidently they won't get to see that if it happens, but I think for Google's sake, if they want to remain one of those companies that's somewhere at the front of the pack, they're going to have to start finding new ways to entice people back. Austin is okay. AI will take over all those programming jobs. Oh boy. Sadly, it's probably going to become more true than it should be. But yeah, I genuinely wonder at what point, what jobs are going to be left. Pretty soon we're going to run out of them. Anyway, so speaking of replacing somebody's job with a younger person, that's apparently happening to Harrison Ford. Yeah, didn't see that transition coming, did ya? Indiana Jones 5 will apparently feature a de-aged Harrison Ford for the first 25 minutes. Okay, so first off, spoiler alert for those who didn't know, or well, sorry, it's already spoiled, but for those that didn't know, there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming. And collectively the world sighed and is sorry. But let's just hope that it's nothing as terrible as Crystal Skull. At the very least, it seems we will not have Shia LaBeouf coming back to reprise his role. That being said, holy crap, they are going to de-age Harrison Ford for what is going to be at least a quarter of the movie, assuming it's a roughly 2-hour movie. That's a lot. They must be confident, or they're going to have him with his back to the camera a lot, or I don't know. I'm not sure what the strategy is here, but yeah. There are no, to my knowledge, I don't believe that there are any videos or like stills of the de-aged version yet. I suppose we'll probably just have to wait and see what those look like. But yeah, I'm curious how this is supposed to work. And I'm curious what this is going to start doing as a standard within the industry. I had a theory quite a while back when deepfakes came out. One of my big beliefs has been that they're going to start including in contracts basically an agreement that anyone who is cast in a movie will have to sign an agreement that if anything happens to them, their likeness will be usable in scenes that they did not film. And the idea of this is basically kind of like an insurance policy. So if you film a movie and you get to within, say, 90% of finished, you've only got maybe a couple of critical scenes left to film, and something terrible happens to you, then in theory the movie could deep fake the rest of it, finish it out, and you have a final movie. And as much as I know some people would find that cringy, I think it's actually a good idea. That is actually something that probably should happen, because it would save a fortune on, obviously, the movie itself. That's the investment that goes into the movie would be protected, and you wouldn't have to refilm a whole damn movie with whatever random actor you find to replace them kind of at the last minute. So there's a lot of benefit to doing what I described. What I'm curious about is how long before we start seeing, and this has been brought up before too, whole movies possibly filmed with someone who isn't even there. Like maybe they sign off their likeness. Bruce Willis was in a TV commercial that he did not film. This was just something that some company paid him to do. And yeah, that was it. They just paid for his likeness. He agreed to it, or evidently agreed to it. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think there may have been some story that it wasn't something he agreed to, and they were possibly going to sue over it. I don't remember. But I think we are going to see more of this. And it kind of raises the question, how often are the original actors even going to know what's going to be happening with their faces? Are they going to be in scenes that they did not agree to? Are we going to see more and more things that are sort of almost a fan fiction generation of something? But when I say fan fiction, I mean like the actual official movie is going to be something that's just made up by somebody, and the actors just have no say in that, or don't know it's going to happen until the movie comes out. I mean, this sort of thing has already happened in the past. We've seen actors who were in a movie and some random thing got filmed like outside of a scene, or a take was done where they made some comment, or something happened and it was an accident, it wasn't supposed to be in there. They cut and reshoot the scene, and then lo and behold, some editor's like, oh no, see, if we just piece these three things together, it looks like this, and it creates a different version of the story or something like that, and it ends up getting used. Like, there are actors who've sued studios over exactly that. Curious how long before that kind of thing starts happening here. You know, it will happen. It's not a question of when, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So, to that point also, if there's a leading lady and Harrison Ford is, a young Harrison Ford is getting lucky on screen, I'm just saying, that's gonna get weird. So, I guess rant over? Or rant delayed until we get to, until this movie comes out. Which, I remember seeing that there was supposed to be a date. I don't remember what it was. I think I already have it somewhere. Maybe I don't. I think I have it recorded for my movie post, though. So, really quickly, and for no important reason, I am pulling up the... Okay, yes, good, there's an update. Woohoo. Wait, where the hell is it? I'm looking at the right list. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is June 30th. That is our date. Was it in here and my eyes just skimmed right over it out of curiosity? Damn you, Engadget. No. I did not go for that. But really? So apparently the... Oh yeah, okay, I don't care about that. The Star Trek movie that... Or, sorry, Star Trek show that will maybe get some people watching again. So, yeah. A lot of we'll see on this one. And a final topic, I think, because we are at 6:30. We'll count this as our 15-minute warning. Hey, I haven't done one of those in a while. And look at that, the world is closer to ending than ever before. Maybe I need to go back to 15-minute warnings? But as a final topic, Twitter may soon tell users with a free Blue subscription how to cancel it. This is for those who weren't paying attention, in a desperate, clingy effort to try to matter in some way, shape, or form, Elon Musk started giving away free Twitter Blue subscriptions to anyone who has enough followers. Anyone who is basically objectively a celebrity, whether it's due to follower count or something else. And this is still selective. He has made a point of not giving it to several people. But yeah, apparently a bunch of people who said that they would not pay for it have received a blue check mark. They are, again, technically, or they appear to be blue subscribers, and Elon is taking credit for this. Which is funny because he didn't take credit for this until a whole bunch of people very openly and blatantly said, nope, that is not us. We did not pay for this. Do not make any mistake. I am not one of those people. Which to me is hilarious because, holy crap, talk about something that that makes your thing look bad. But I compared this to a practice bartenders have called seating the tip jar. Basically, when you show up for your shift as a bartender or somewhere where a tip jar is visible, you pull a few bucks out of your wallet, throw them into the jar, and it looks like people have already started tipping you. And this is a subtle cue to other customers, hey, you should be tipping us. Or at least, we accept tips, here's where they're at. Because people's eyes are kind of weirdly attracted to money. Funny how that works. So, the way I see it is he basically decided to give a bunch of celebrities a blue check mark so that it would look like a bunch of people were happily and willingly paying for it. Once a bunch of people basically said, no, that's not us, we kind of don't want this thing, he had to take credit. Which is ironic because what he probably could have said is, oh, that's an accident, we'll take care of it. But, yeah, so now in the process of this, he's, I think, kind of revealed how desperate and thirsty they are to get people to subscribe. Shocking, I know. And now since so many people are saying that they don't want it, they are apparently preparing to give an option for people to cancel a free checkmark. Yeah. This is such a pathetic, desperate situation. They have to let people say, no, we don't want your crap. That is a really bad place to be. Having a blue check mark is such a terrible sign now that people desperately don't want it. And I don't know who exactly, but I've heard apparently a lot of people even pinned their refusal to pay as like their top tweet. Which is, it just keeps getting funnier. It's more and more hilarious, and it's also sad, but in the funny way. So yeah, Twitter is just getting worse and worse by the day. And again, I am so here for it. I'm loving watching this. It is the best train wreck that has ever happened. So, yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I think that I'm sure we have not seen the end of this stupidity. But it's just so good. It's so good to watch. Anyway, so let's see. I think that is about the only. Oh, wait, was there? Oh, in case anyone missed it, sorry, there was one other Twitter comedy bit worth mentioning. Somebody, I don't know how exactly they were tracking this, but someone was keeping track of the total number of Twitter Blue check marks. And apparently, on the day that they removed legacy check marks, the number of paid check marks went up by a whopping 28. And it may have actually been 27. I'm not sure why the discrepancy, but yeah. So they made, I mean, they made a whopping $224 before credit card charges on that. Yeah. They made enough to pay one employee to sit there for the day, basically. Maybe. That's how much they made in Twitter subscriptions for that day. Yeah. Twitter dying. I'm sorry, but Twitter dying. That's my prediction. I don't think I'm alone in this prediction. In the meantime, Blue Sky is so far the people who have tried Blue Sky, for those that don't know, Jack Dorsey decided after Elon Musk bought Twitter, Jack Dorsey ventured off to start his own thing. He calls it Blue Sky. It has been accepting early beta users for the last 2 weeks, I think. 3 weeks, something like that. The people who've been invited to try it, basically they can send, as I understand it, every week they get 2 invites that they can send out. So this is kind of their rollout plan, as everyone will slowly get invited in. From everyone who's tried it, yeah, the G plus and invite strategy, exactly. But according to every person that I've seen commenting on Blue Sky, they've all basically said the same thing. It is a Twitter clone, but with only half the features. They're missing basic things like the ability to block somebody. I guess they are missing, I think they're missing some sort of, one of the types of replies. They're missing a bunch of stuff that pretty much everyone is saying, yeah, well, we need this stuff. And they don't have anything really different either. So it's just literally like Twitter, but half. And okay, maybe it's built better. Maybe they learned from the original and figured out that they needed to change and tweak a few things. It apparently looks, well, and if you look up screenshots, it looks very, very similar to Twitter, which is probably not helping its case. At this point, not looking like much of a success story, or like it has much of a potential to be a success story. Meanwhile, Mastodon, I'm not trying to pimp for it here, but meanwhile, Mastodon is still growing by, let's see, as of, what was it, yesterday? Or, well, yeah, yesterday it had grown by about 35,000 people in one day, and it's about that every day. It's relatively consistent. So, well, and some of those are duplicate accounts, or accounts of people that move from one server to another. Some of those accounts are obviously not new users, and there are plenty of users who come on and try it, then abandon it because it's just not their thing. Not getting into too many of those details, but yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the point of Mastodon is no longer just the side niche project. It is growing, and it's growing faster than it was growing, which means it's getting closer and closer to cementing itself. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing Blue Sky active now, because the longer Jack Dorsey waits to start launching Blue Sky, the faster, or rather the more time Mastodon, or the Fediverse if you want to get nitpicky about it, has to kind of cement itself as the next place everybody goes. So yeah, Twitter is known to still be hemorrhaging people. Some of them have gone to try other services. Some of them are trying Mastodon. Some of them are just taking a break from social media. But at some point, people are going to start coming back together on one or two services, and I think Blue Sky is trying a little too desperately to be one of them, because they're not ready. But we'll see what happens. I've got a lot of we'll sees capping the end of these comments tonight. But, what are you going to do? Anyway, so let's see. That tab not close. Oh. Keyboard goofed. Okay. Now it closed. So, anyway, with that, I think I've run out of topics. So, also, it is pretty close to 7. It's 6:40 by my clock. So, I want to let my voice recover a little bit. I need to go finish writing a review because I'm already kind of late on it. And then, once that's finished, I have 1,000 other things I need to do. But thank you all for coming by. Thanks for being part of the conversation, chatting with me, and giving your thoughts. It's always welcome. Let's see. As usual, thank you twice as hard to all those who support the channel through Patreon, Cash App, or Streamlabs. You guys are awesome, and you definitely do actually help keep the channel keep going. For those who are hearing this and would like to help out in any way, shape, or form, links are down below in the description. By all means, feel free to click on one of them and, keep clicking until you're a little bit poorer. Let's see. So for this weekend, I am expecting, I think, to game both nights. Hopefully. I can't think of any reason I shouldn't be able to. And I will be avoiding any run-ins with some green curry, which should probably help with that. Green curry's still awesome. I think it was just that batch that was not a good choice. Anyway, so actually my mistake was probably going relatively close to closing time for the restaurant. That was my actual mistake. Anyway, so, yeah, should be playing some Fall Guys in theory. Actually, I think in theory the new season doesn't start till next weekend, something like that. So we'll see. We're probably not going to have the most interesting things happening until then. But in the meantime, thank you all for coming by. We'll see you this weekend, and if not, obviously we'll be back next week for another RambleCast. And with that, I hope you all an excellent rest of your week, and good night, everybody.